Adjourned. Now I'll call the June 10th, 2014 regular meeting of the Brookhaven City Council to order. Madam Clerk, Daniel, invocation?
No.
Mayor J. Max Davis.
Invocations first.
Oh, excuse me.
All right.
Everyone, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us all here safely and comfortably together tonight. Please grant the mayor and council strength and guidance in their decision making, and thank you for this safe weather that just passed through. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right. Now I call the roll, please.
Okay, Mayor J. Max Davis,
Here.
Councilmember Rebecca Williams,
Present.
Councilmember Bates Madison,
Here.
Councilmember Joe Gebbia.
Here.
Thank you, all present.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, opening remarks. You have to bear with me. I injured my back a couple weeks ago, ruptured a disc. And last week's meeting, we were spared from that one. I did a very poor job. I was out of it last week, but we suffered through it together. I just want to give you a reminder that my back is improving, by the way. A reminder that the food trucks for tomorrow have been canceled by the vendor because of the inclement weather. That's I know it's a popular event. But the vendor has the right to cancel when there's weather, and it's supposed to be 80% chance. Obviously, it couldn't have gone on tonight, a night like tonight, so it's probably a good thing. Anybody else have any announcements?
I would like to say that Rebecca and I met with Michael Thurman, the Cobb County School Administration today about the Brookhaven Innovation Academy and other issues. We had a very fruitful discussion, very cooperative partnership discussion that we will continue to see if we can create a partnership with Cobb County and this Brookhaven Innovation Academy. But at a minimum, they made some great commitments to continue working with the City of Brookhaven to have quarterly meetings with Brookhaven to discuss the issues of public education in Brookhaven. So great meeting, and I thank them for spending 2 hours with us talking about some very important issues.
It was scheduled for 45 minutes, wasn't it, or something? Yeah.
Yeah, an hour.
Yeah,
And we were able to talk about the zoning that's under consideration up at Ashford Green. And we had promised the folks at Montgomery Elementary and our constituents that we would try to get the Board of Education at the table to make them part of the discussion, because the concern has been potential overcrowding at Montgomery Elementary, additional traffic on Ashford Dunwoody Road. And we really had a great discussion today with the superintendent, and a commitment from him to really engage with us to look at some operational improvements, some long-range plans, long-range future of the school. And that's exactly what we wanted, because we really, this is a problem that we can't solve on our own, and we're just thrilled to have them at the table.
Thank you both for doing that.
Yeah.
And thank you, Bates, for your continued leadership on this issue. It's important to me, and it's important to everybody in Brookhaven, I know, education in Brookhaven. And if we can improve it in any way, I think that's our duty. All right. Any other remarks?
Just one last thing about that. The Brookhaven Innovation Academy website has been updated, so there's a lot more information on the website now. It just went live yesterday. The web address is still brookhaven.education. So if you want to sign up for more information, or if you have any concerns, just let us know through that website.
It's not edu, it's not .com, it's just brookhaven.education.
Right.
All right. And agenda announcements?
No agenda. Well, yes, sir. Under public hearing items, number 1, if we could just please change the agenda title where it calls for public hearing consideration of the 2014 millage rate.
Right.
If we could change public hearing to presentation of information regarding the 2014 millage rate.
And number 4 as well
And item number 4.
is going off.
Item number, you mean number 1 under the announcements? I'm sorry.
Under public hearing number 4, they said Susan, we weren't hearing that.
Oh, correct. Right, and that is being deferred. That's not on the agenda.
So it's deferred or just it's being taken off the agenda? Right, I understand that, but the language we'll use is it's being taken off, right?
No.
It's referred by the Planning Commission.
Right?
It will be heard by the Planning Commission on July 9th and the council on July 22nd. It will not be heard by the council tonight.
So therefore, do we need to make an agenda announcement about, amendment about that number 4 being on the agenda? That's the nature of the amendment is what I'm trying, or the agenda is what I'm trying to figure out. What do we say?
That it will not be heard. It's not a
Okay.
deferral because it's already been scheduled for July
It will
22nd.
not be heard tonight, so there needs to be a motion on amending the agenda for both those items that Marie discussed.
What was the first one? Oh,
Just to say that.
Mayor and council, there's a note on the agenda indicating clearly in red that it will not be heard tonight.
so do we have to do anything? No.
Mayor, we do have one other
Okay,
agenda item
Right.
under new business.
right.
Number 3, resolution. The number has not been signed unless it's RES 20140602, and it's a resolution to call for a moratorium under the sign ordinance.
Okay. So,
It would have to be 03, because 02 is the call for election.
03,
That's 03, and that's number 3 under new
All right,
business.
I'm trying to find this one
Number
about.
three.
Number 3 under new business.
My agenda not right here. Should be item number 3.
Yeah, 3 for your moratorium.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we amend the agenda to remove items 1 and 4 on the public.
No,
not to remove, to amend.
Sorry, let me restate that. To amend as stated by our city attorney, items 1 and 4 on the
Agenda.
agenda.
And item
And then also, item
1 on new business,
item 1 on new business,
stated by city attorney.
as stated by the city attorney?
No, I think it's going to be a new
Or is that
item.
in addition?
We're going to be.
Should be new item
new item
3.
3,
New item 3, as stated by the city attorney with the,
moratorium on signs.
With a
for the moratorium on signs.
moratorium on the sign
Is there a
ordinance.
second?
I second.
Susan, was
Discussion?
that clear?
Just to make it clear that we're agending, this is the discussion portion. We're amending number 1 to remove the public hearing aspect of number 1. Number 4, we're not hearing number 4. Number 3 on new business is being amended to add a resolution for a moratorium. All right? So
That's
is there
correct.
any more discussion? Is that good? Is there any more discussion?
It's
All right.
already been seconded.
All right. I know, I just want to make, if there's any more discussion, if there's not, we'll call the vote. All right? All in favor of the amendment signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right. The motion passes. Okay, any more agenda announcements? Hopefully those are the, all right. Public comment. This is the first public comment section. If you have a comment about anything on the agenda, you can come up and comment now. If you have comments about a specific item on the agenda, there'll be a public hearing. I see most of the shirts, and I know what they're here for. You'll have the opportunity to speak on the, under the public hearing item as well. So this is just a general comments for the agenda. If anybody in the audience has a comment on the agenda, any items on the agenda,
Mr. John Ernst.
all right?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Soccer Fest, I guess a couple months ago, we came to announce that we were coming to Brookhaven for Soccer Fest, and I thought it was appropriate for me to come back and kind of give you guys the rundown of what's happening and such. We had a very productive meeting with the mayor, the chief of police, city manager, and a sort, to kind of finalize everything. We have all our permits are in order, and we're done in that regard. Our fundraising has been fabulous in this area. Thank the Brookhaven community. And we are looking really forward to having everyone come out on June 22nd Sunday, June 22nd, for the largest World Cup viewing party here in the Southeast. We have 11 by 17-foot screen. We'll have bouncy houses and activities for kids all day long, and should be a great event. I'd also like to thank Kodig, the neighborhood association that was nearby, worked with us very nicely about the fun run and the event. They took some of our, we took some of their concerns to the city. The city solved those very easily. We're allowing them to set up a booth for, to sell water and Gatorade and such, so that they can give back to the park. So I'm looking forward to everyone being out there on
Brookhaven Park, correct?
Brookhaven Park, yes.
Which
Brookhaven
is on
Park.
Peachtree?
Yep. As we now know, it's affectionately known as the dog park. So
Right.
when we're going around, everyone says, which park is that? And we're like, the one on Osborne and Peachtree. And they say, no, that's the dog park. I'm like, no.
Okay, the dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what will be available at the fest, and what will y'all be watching? And
Well, we'll be watching the World Cup games on that day, culminating with U.S. versus Portugal, which is at 6 p.m. and we'll go to 8. Like I said, we have 11 by 17-foot screen. We have food trucks. We have Sweetwater beer will be there. We have bouncy houses, soccer activities for the kids. Atlanta Silverbacks will be there. Atlanta Hawks group is going to be there. Just various amounts of other folks and nonprofits around. Brookhaven Farmers Market's going to be there. So it's a great community effort.
so if you're missing the food trucks tomorrow night, you're going to have them on Sunday at the,
We're going to have them on Sunday, on June 22nd, the following Sunday.
and you picked like 6 of them?
We are, 6 of them,
Uh-huh.
and they're hand-picked ones that
You like.
we like. Plus, we have a hot dog vendor, a popcorn vendor, of course, King of Pops.
Right.
Because what's an Atlanta event without King of Pops?
All right.
Sorry. And the times, again?
It starts at noon and goes until 8 p.m. It's an all-day event. We really think the crowds are going to come for the U.S. game, so everyone should try to get there early. We were just there yesterday testing the satellite dish. That worked, and very well, luckily. But also, we found out we're going to have perfect shade. Right where we're going to be, the shade's going to be, right when that game starts, we'll be in shade. So get there early to claim your shade.
And there's a MARTA shuttle, too.
Yes, parking's at the MARTA station, and there'll be a shuttle from there going all day long.
Okay.
When we spoke last, you said you expected 5,000 people?
We're hoping for 5,000 people. We're getting great response. We've been at the food truck event. People were excited. We've been at Farmers Market. People excited. We've been at Summerfest, other areas around Atlanta, and there's a lot of excitement.
And there's a race that morning, correct?
There's a 5K in the morning, which we're still taking people to torture themselves through the 5K.
And we'll have a lot of Brookhaven police there.
A lot of Brookhaven police will be all over the place. We'll be in our volunteers. Every street on the road will be blocked. The people in the neighborhood are going to get flyered this Saturday. Just let them know that this is occurring.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I know it's been a big effort, and I know in the beginning we weren't sure about what was going to be happening to you or us, and so we're looking forward to a great event, and we thank you for choosing Brookhaven for it.
I thank you guys.
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
You know what? He's
Mr. Dale Boone.
Dale Boone?
Who? Who?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. It is so wonderful to be back home
Welcome home.
after 10 months. I come with you with a lot of wealth and knowledge that I've learned from India, Thailand, Australia, France, on the new cities that they've started up, and it basically how their governments work. And I've actually had a chance in my free time overseas is to sit back and to learn a lot of things that they do. And I can't wait to share a lot of knowledge and wealth with you on that and the different departments. You would not believe how a lot of cities run worldwide. So I just want to take a second to say thank you so much for welcoming me back home. Feels good to get right back into Brookhaven again like we did a couple years ago. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you,
We
Dale.
appreciate your help in getting this city started. Next,
Mr. Jeff Keller.
Jeff Keller. We appreciate your help in getting this city started, too.
I was told there was going to be some sort of recognition for the landscaping. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Not yet.
What?
The zoning.
No, we're going to do that next time.
No, okay,
at a later date.
all right, thank you. Well, first of all, for the city, what a difference a year, now a year and a half makes. Mr. Mayor and council, Marie and your staff, Chief, thank you all for everything you've done over the past year and a half to get this city started. With Kona, what a difference 2 months makes. As you can see, our slogan is Kona Cares, but with everything that's been accomplished, if Larry the Cable Guy were here, he would say, Kona gets her done. For the landscaping, we've raised over $1,500 for the landscaping. There were some additional plants that were brought in. In addition, now, we only had one meeting that was a little over a month ago, and 8 things have been accomplished over the past month. We raised almost, well, as of last week, it was almost 10,000. Now, after the weekend, I think it's over 10,000 just for neighborhood enhancements and improvements. Hopefully, that won't be eaten up by attorney's fees. We'll see. The soccer festival, I originally was against it. I was worried about the crowd, but some folks in our community.
We were too.
Are soccer fans. Their children play soccer. Formed a committee. They met, and they really did have a very productive meeting. We're feeling very good about this event. And as he said, when we were sitting down with him, a member of the committee thought, wow, the only thing the city's getting is a $150 alcohol permit. Is there anything we could do to raise money for the park? And they were very accommodating and gave us the option to sell non-alcoholic beverages. And all of those proceeds will go to the park. We're trying to get Coke to donate water, et cetera. Let's see, the Shell station, we had a committee set up to meet with them. They were very reasonable. They listened to our concerns. We worked out a deal, and that should be voted on next week. We were the first neighborhood to have a traffic study performed. Special thanks to Joe Hamill, if he's here tonight. The study showed what we already know, that traffic on Kendrick is more than 50% what was expected. And so we'd like to work with the city for some sort of traffic calming in the future. We had a barbecue, which was this past Saturday. Around 70 adults were there. Couldn't count the number of children. I think we also fed the entire police department. They were over there both shifts, the afternoon and evening, and I think we took enough back with them to feed everybody for the weekend.
Oh.
Chief, it was great to have them there and just to meet the people that patrol our neighborhood. And you've done an excellent job recruiting some very fine individuals. Thank you for that. Then finally, there was a new family that moved into the neighborhood, and we delivered a basket to them, and the ladies that were doing it said, well, the city is now a new neighbor, and my wife and some others, their names are Amy Bars, Rachel Murphy, Erin Mosier, and Heather Keller. I just want to recognize them. But in closing, the slogan means nothing without people backing it up, and I'm really appreciative to my neighbors for everything they've done. We do care about the city. This is the future of our neighborhood and for our children. Thank you very much.
Jeff, what is the boundary of the Kona?
It actually, we have reached out to all the neighborhoods along Osborne Road between Peachtree and Windsor Parkway.
Okay.
And so it is not intended just to be the area right there. It is the entire length of Osborne Road.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it. Who's next?
Ms. Sandra Murray?
Murray?
Good evening.
Hello.
It's good to see you all again. I'm Sandy Murray. I live at 3212 Saybrook Drive, and I'm here to talk about the tree cutting that's going on in our city. Yesterday, on my street, it was disturbed by the noise of many trees being cut, even ones that were quite old and would be considered specimen trees in many other locations. 3188 Saybrook Drive is being torn down and redeveloped. I am appalled at the city permitting such an activity, which was done through the Zoning Board of Appeals through a variance. It is permitting the change of my street from a lovely, cool, wooded park to a sunny wasteland of grass. One of my great delights in moving to Brookhaven was the beauty of the trees and the wooded nature of my neighborhood. All my friends and neighbors thought it was Big Canoe in the city. It is truly a special place living in the neighborhood surrounding Silver Lake, and yet we seem intent on destroying it. It is urgent that the City Council revise the ordinance governing the cutting of trees as part of the redevelopment of our neighborhoods. I read that one of the most desirable features of Brookhaven is the tree canopy, and yet it is declining by many trees each day. 19 trees were cut on Monday. One of them was 38 inches in diameter, and it was caused, the cutting was allowed by the zoning variance that was permitted. How many trees have we lost in the city? I've given you a packet. There are hundreds and hundreds of trees in the year that we have been in business. I urge you to immediately stop all tree cutting, put a moratorium on it until we can review this ordinance and get it right. Thank you.
Wait, hold on, Ms. Murray. One
Yes.
sec. What area, you're saying that on your street, is it one lot that had that many trees cut down, or is it
Yes.
one, just one?
Yes, I put pictures there that you could see. Yes, it's one
Susan, what
lot.
does our tree ordinance say about how many trees you can take down? And
It doesn't say.
we have DeKalb County's ordinance, is the same ordinance that we have, is the same as DeKalb.
It doesn't say the number. I've talked with the arborist, and she came over and actually inspected again this morning. And she told me that it's the actual number of inches that you have to leave. And the way the developer did it was cut everything that was inside the property and only left things on the round the edge.
Right.
And because of that, he's still within the permit, but it has destroyed all of the trees on the lot, especially the big old 50-foot oaks and hickories.
Do you know if any of them were diseased, or did the arborist tell you if any more?
No, they weren't. No, there was no problem with any of those trees.
Do we
The
know that?
arborist had looked at it already.
And said there were no problems with the trees?
Yeah.
But it was within the code that we adopted?
Well, the zoning board of appeals permitted that because they allowed the developer to extend the front of this house that he's building from 140 feet to 85 feet.
I'm just
And-
trying to make sure that the tree ordinance, if there's been no compliance with our tree ordinance, I want to make sure we're
Well,
aware
according
of
to the
that.
arborist, he was within compliance of the code, but it's the code that's the problem.
So it's the code we adopted?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right.
It's urgent that we stop this tree cutting.
We had talked, I think we talked about that tonight, but so we'll look at that again. We've been, trying to tweak our ordinance because we adopted everything from DeKalb County, so what was in place 18 months ago is what was still in place.
I understand, and
Yeah,
I've talked with the
work on-
arborist about some changes. She's proposed some things, but they're not good enough.
Could you email us some changes you'd like to see?
Yes, I would be glad to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next? That's it? All right. Any more public comment on anything? All right. All right. Next, consent agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 6 items on the consent agenda. We've reviewed them at our work session.
Correct. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt items 1 through 6 on the consent agenda.
For a second?
Seconded.
All in discussion?
I just want to point out that this includes streetlight districts continuing in the Brooklyn development. I think we did the first part of that last council meeting.
Right.
They're putting up beautiful streetlights, ornamentation. They've already done a great job of sidewalks. This is the 52-acre development that's on Johnson Ferry Road, right across from the Publix. If you haven't been through there, I really encourage you to come through. I think it's going to be a model for the country of mixed use, mixed income, mixed age. It's where it used to all be public housing, and the DeKalb Housing Authority sold off half the land to a master developer. And so all the public housing is now really in quite beautiful apartments, 3 4-story apartments in 3 buildings. And then there's a beautiful luxury apartment complex on the streetscape. And then there's new single-family homes going in, being built by Ashton Woods, and some beautiful townhomes. And then there's market-rate senior housing that is quite beautiful. And then there's going to be about 48,000 square feet of retail along the front, which I think we'll be seeing coming out this summer. We know that Pure Taqueria is one of the restaurants that will be there, which is a very popular restaurant up in Alpharetta and Duluth and some other great stuff coming in. So the developers putting a lot of investment in the infrastructure, and these are the street lights that are going in.
All right. Thank you. Just want to make a note on one of the things we're approving. We're changing our paving contractor for the good, according to Richard. So our paving should be picking up this summer. And I know the electronic warrant interchange system, that's something that police need, and that's something we've already adopted. We're readopting it. All right, any more discussion? All in favor of adopting the consent agenda, signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right, consent agenda is adopted. Announcements?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, item number 1 is the appointment of the Pilot Sanitation Review Steering Committee. It's Mr. Gebbia's initiative.
Anybody want to volunteer for that? If you're in the pilot program for DeKalb County Sanitation, where you got the new bins, need to have your names up here if you could at some point. Just give them to Daniel. But Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I've had a lot of questions coming to me via email and by conversation and from council members and from some members of the media. So I'm going to give a quick recap on the history of this and where we are today and where we think we're going to go with this. So just as a recap, if you all remember, some time back, DeKalb County came to us, DeKalb County Sanitation came to us and basically gave us a command that they were going to be raising our rates on our sanitation. They said we can keep the same rate, but go down in service by about from 2 days of solid waste pickup to 1, or we can keep the same 2-day pickup, which is really 3 days, 2 solid waste and 1 recycling, for an upcharge of about to $310. So we went out and thought we don't want to be dictated to like this. So we put it out for an RFP to look at privatizing it. And we did come back with some good numbers, but the comments from residents was basically, we really love our DeKalb County Sanitation and we want to stay with it. So I took that bid with Marie and we went and had a meeting with the DeKalb County Sanitation. We gave them the recap of it and said, give us a reason not to leave, not to have to put up with the problem of perhaps making folks here a little bit more irritated as far as what we might have been doing as a city. And make a long story short, they said, hold off, we're working on a program that we think you're going to like. Well, several months later, in a following meeting, it came up that they said, we're going to put a pilot program together, and we're going to choose 5 different cities, and we're going to do routes. And a route was 1,000 homes. So we continued having sessions with them, and in the meantime, we were creating the Keep Brookhaven Beautiful Foundation, and council had approved $60,000 to fund the Keep Brookhaven Beautiful. We wanted to go to DeKalb County because we're a part of their Keep America Beautiful program, and we wanted them to match what we were doing and set an example for what cities should be doing. And they came back and they told us flat out that that's something they weren't prepared to do because of their financial situation, obviously, but that there were 4 $33,000 grants going to be given to 4 of these 5 cities. So we said, we want to make sure that we're one of those cities that's $33,000 every year, and we're going to be using it 100% towards the Keep Brookhaven Beautiful. Well, they wanted to do this program, and the program only included in the pilot program, the green can, which everybody knows now is the solid waste. And we said, this program won't work if you find an alternate way, if you don't find an alternate way for people to appropriately discard recyclable products that'll take the pressure off of having to do 2-day solid waste. And we knew this was the answer because when we went through the RFP process, the independent companies that we had solicited from had educated us very well on what it took to make the program successful. So we went and said, we want you to supply us with 65-gallon recycling cans because we're not recycling at the rate that we could or should be as a city, and it's part of the Keep Brookhaven Beautiful. They kept saying no, so the suggestion was offered by our city manager. We will go ahead and we will pay for the initial containers, and we will do it as a investment in the program, which I totally agree with. Complimented her for the suggestion. It moved the conversation forward. We were looking for a total exposure of $15,000, which was going to be funded by one of 3 ways. One was we had approval for $60,000 via the approved money the council had already approved. I have a discretionary fund of $25,000, which I could have used. But most importantly, we were looking at the $33,000 coming from the grant funds that we were going to be assured we were going to get. The county did not tell us at the time what their actual plans were. We had to read it in a press release. They came out with 2,900 plus people for the test program when we were only looking at 1,000. So our commitment to provide seed money to prove that the program would work of $15,000 was now almost 3 times. That was a bit of a shock. And we were agreeing to an exposure of 1,000 cans, and now here we got 3,000 cans being produced. So the program is going along extremely well. We're getting tremendous feedback. I'm getting the emails that I'm getting are really people saying, what can I do to get some of these? I want to be on this program. I want to increase my recycling. I'm an avid recyclist. I made arrangements for each of the council members to get cans because I wanted them to experience what it is that we're going to be asked as a city to do to move forward, which could come as early as August the 1st. So what we're now telling DeKalb County is this is a DeKalb County program. Our investment in this is seed money to prove that it works. A resident right now gets the containers for free but has to pay for the blue bags. And I believe the price on those bags can be as high as $60. That's what I was told. Well, I should know this, but what is it?
15?
It's 15 a box.
Yeah, but it depends on how many times you buy it. So one resident told me they spent $60, so I guess
They
they
got
bought
4
multiple. All right, well, anyway, the program here will be a one-time fee per residence that want to maintain the blue container. It's not mandatory, it's completely voluntary. We feel the far majority of people will do it. It'll be a zero cost to the city. The city did make a $12,500 payment to the county as a token payment towards our original agreement to go towards the 1,000 cans. But when the program ends and the participants in the program are assessed that one-time $15 fee, we expect to be reimbursed for those funds. So we're here looking after the best interests of you all. We think we got a program that's really going to be very beneficial for the city. I mean, if anybody participated with us in the cleanup of the Peachtree Creek, you know the kind of garbage that flows through those drain pipes and gets up into our, and I mean, when you know what goes on with litter, sometimes that comes from garbage that's just not properly packaged or whatever. We want to move more towards making this a cleaner city. We want to be doing things that are environmentally sound. We want to be doing them in a sound economic fashion. And we're just really excited about the way the program's moving on. So the steering committee, and we want to try and get folks that are currently participating in the program to help offer an evaluation of how well, or if it's not going well, we need to know, because this county is going to make the decision whether or not this goes citywide. But we want to make sure that we have the ability to provide them with information they may need to make sure that it's being handled in the correct fashion, or it's being done to the best degree that it can be done. So if anybody is in the program that's in the room tonight, would like to participate, Kennesaw State is actually putting together the questionnaire. We would like to have our own folks review those returns and come up with an evaluation that we can publish as a statement from our residents. Okay? And if you have any questions, feel free to email me or feel free to give me a buzz. I thank all those that have taken part in the program, and we'd love to hear your comments either way, positive and negative, so send them on over.
Thank you. Parks purchase update. Thanks, Joe.
Just to discuss, I guess, a summary of what was discussed in the work session as far as the update of the parks acquisition. We are having a meeting tomorrow with the Community Service Board for the purpose of determining the resolution of Brookhaven Park and the front 10 acres that we consider to be a park. As I reported earlier, we've covered the environmental issues, at least for 2 of the parks, with one being with the empty drums on Linwood is still an open issue. And as council is directed, we will proceed in tendering the money in order to get the various deeds for the parks in which there doesn't have to be any additional surveying work done or are not at issue as far as the county is concerned.
All right, thank you. Look forward to that happening. Sidewalk update?
Sidewalk
One-
update and paving update.
One quick question on that. So, Tom, timeframe on parks transfers? Can we give ballpark to citizens who are expecting to see?
For those in which there are no issues, less, I would say, within 30 days, assuming the county cooperates.
That's great. Thank you.
All right,
Mr. Mayor, if we could take items 3 and 4, so Mr. Meehan can update us on the sidewalk and paving projects.
go ahead.
We went over this extensively in the work session, so I'll be brief on this. On the paving, like you approved the contract with the new paving company, Stewart Brothers Inc., tonight, so we will be getting them on board and get them started in the next few weeks with the paving schedule. With the number we have on there, we expect to have it go through the next couple months to get all the get all the roads that are on the list in there. And if we start adding roads, it may be extending. And that contract is going to be good, at least, the prices in that contract are good for at least the next 6 months. So will take us to the end of the year. We will have to bid this out because of the size of the contract. We will have to bid this out annually, so. On the sidewalks, since I last updated you, we have substantially completed the work on Harts Mill Road, sidewalk
Hold on.
improvements.
Can we put the things on the TV that you're talking about?
Okay, the only one I have is the Curtis Drive one.
Oh, you don't have the.
You get that?
It's in the agenda, isn't it?
You're talking about the list that you have in front of you,
For
Daniel.
which,
This is the 2013 sidewalks and paving
13.
updates.
Okay.
I have,
Yeah, you
Here.
can have
okay.
That one? The one below it, Daniel?
Here he is.
Yeah, just it's showing what's completed, because we're still working on those.
Okay, and on the paving from the 2013, the only, getting back on that, we've completed of the roads on that, which are Dunwoody Place, Hunters Brook Court, Stratfield Drive, Pamela Drive, and Edgewood Drive. The only one that hasn't been done is Pamela Drive. We had some issues with the old contractor.
Right.
We've terminated with them, and we're just going to roll that into the work done by the new contractor. So we expect to get, that will be included in the work done over the next couple months. Since it's by the school, we'll make sure that one gets done before the beginning of August, so it'll be done before school gets back in session.
All right,
On the sidewalks, Daniel, can you
zoom a little bit.
move that around? Since the last update I gave you at the last council meeting, we've substantially completed the Harts Mill Road sidewalk crossing. We still have some signage to do out there that was on back order. The Windsor Parkway Phase Done was completed already. Kusawati Drive sidewalk was substantially completed this week. We got a couple minor punch list items and things to finish up, but the sidewalk is in place and open and ready to be used.
It is being used.
And it is being used. I'm sure it was being used before the concrete even set. Drew Valley Road, we should be starting work. If they hadn't started today, they should be starting this week. Appalachie Drive, Curtis Drive, we'll be mobilizing and starting that one this week. That's the one on by the elementary school and Cross Keys High School. Appalachie Drive will follow right behind that, probably starting in a couple weeks. And I think the only other one on the list is Humility Lane, which we're working through some final pricing issues with the contractor. And the contractor on that one will be starting on that once they finish with Drew Valley. And Windsor Parkway Phase 2 is still on the list, and that will follow after all of these. It's part of the 14 sidewalks.
Thank you, Richard.
Mhm.
And go ahead.
I had been paving yet?
You just did paving.
I did the 13 paving, but if you have a paving question, I can answer that
I
as
just had
well.
a question about when you do the repaving on
You
West
put your mics off, yeah.
Sorry. When we do the repaving on West Nancy Creek Drive, they've
Yes.
got the traffic islands.
Yes.
tell me what we do with those. You remove them, you replace them, you rebuild them?
The traffic islands themselves, where we can pave around them, however, we will be going in there and making curb repairs around them.
'Cause they're pretty beat up.
Beat up, and also with the pavement there, the actual pavement on the road around them is beat up. We'll be doing some removal and patching. I mean, we actually do some deep patching, not just put overlay down on top of it where we have broken up pavement. That'll be the same on all roads where there's broken up pavement, we'll be doing.
You recall what I said about being able to remove the pavement under the island?
Well, he's
So-
saying they're not going to do that.
I mean, we're not, in what we're planning on doing, we're not on those islands, we're not planning on removing the whole islands. All we're doing at this time, planning at this time is to do some curb
But
repair.
what we had asked was
Okay.
that we can, if we could dig out the pavement and leave dirt so that you could plant some shrubs that will live.
We can look at doing that. We'll look at doing that on West Nancy. I mean, we may have to do some of the work with a separate contractor,
Fine.
but we will look at doing that.
Because it's just, right now, it's just dirt, it's just some
Okay.
scrub laying on top of pavement, and you can't ever
Okay.
get anything to
But
grow.
they are planted. I mean,
Still, it's only that much. All right.
We'll look at that.
All right.
So,
so it looked like in this contract that we saved a little bit of money, and there was a mention of maybe adding a few more streets, and it looked like some of the questions from the contractors were, do you have plans for any more like side streets? I assume it's more cost-effective for them to, if they're already on one street, to just add another one nearby?
potentially, I mean, some of it is staging with where they can move the equipment, but I mean, at the same time, if we start adding roads we want to make sure we're adding roads that are in need of the worst needs of
Sure.
paving. I
That's
mean,
a
there's
given.
some, I know, we talked with Woodrow
Way.
Woodrow Lane, but between
Windsor and Lanier.
Windsor and Lanier is one of those roads that, we can add. Part of this is, we've talked about the Ashford-Dunwoody-Johnson's Ferry intersection improvements. We're going to expand what we were going to pave on Ashford-Dunwoody to
okay.
include that area
So
as
don't go
well.
spending the money yet.
I mean, but we will, based on where the bid came in and where our budget is, we do have an opportunity, and we need to start thinking about what additional roads we can add in
Okay.
to this, but we want to get them underway on the roads we already have on the list first.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Okay.
Thank you. And I was going to announce to the folks here, I announced it earlier in the work session, we're going to be looking at sidewalks for 2014, and we want to make sure that if there is a sidewalk near a school or a park or a sidewalk that's in your neighborhood might be in desperate need of, you need to email us and let us know, because if there is the more emails we get on an area that requesting sidewalks, the higher priority it gets on the list, because it's based on what the citizens' needs and wants are. We have our own ideas, but we want to hear from y'all.
And also the laser truck.
And the laser truck, well, the sidewalk's not near the laser
Oh,
truck.
okay.
So I just want to let you know that. All right, next.
Yes, next is our police court building update.
Right.
Things are moving along very fast. In fact, most of the work has already been completed. Our court will be moving officially on August the 1st. We're trying to coincide with the ordering of the ticket books and the dates and locations as to where court appearance will occur. However, on August 11th, the judge has already scheduled and set a trial, so that will remain at the Corporate Square location, 2 Corporate Square.
All right, zoning map audit, update?
Zoning map update, I'm pleased to report that we have chosen and selected August the 12th as the council hearing and consideration for adoption of the revised zoning map. A number of things are going to occur prior to that. We are going to be posting signs, and prior to posting the signs this week, beginning June the 12th, 19th, and 26th, there will be an ad in the newspaper announcing an open house for the city. We're going to be ordering signs, and those signs are going to be posted in front of City Hall, Blackburn Park, Curtis Drive at Buford Highway regarding the open house for June the 30th. During that interim time from June the 16th all the way to June the 24th, we're going to be providing and reviewing, finalizing the final review of any other matters related to the official zoning map. We'll be sending an ad to the paper, which will appear July the 3rd, July the 7th, and July the 17th, announcing the public hearing for the Planning Commission. Planning Commission will hear this in a special called meeting on July the 23rd, and then will send their recommendation to the council on August the 12th. June 30th, there will be a public open house at Oglethorpe from 6 to 8:30. So residents and owners of property or whatever, whoever's interested, to please come by and take a look at the zoning map. If the public finds that there is a conflict with what they understand with a particular piece of property as to what's being shown on the map, we ask them to bring evidence of information where that differentiation shows. So if they have records perhaps that there was a zoning that took place years ago, we would like to see that so we can be sure the map is completely updated. This is through a very exhaustive effort for the last several months that Pond and Company has been engaged with by the city and working directly with Ms. Cannon and her staff. Volumes of research and materials that they've gone through. So we're very excited that we are nearing the end.
For those of you all are aware, we adopted a zoning map from DeKalb County that had some deficiencies and some omissions and some errors, and caused us some problems last fall, but we've put all that past us. We've gotten ahead of it, and our community development department has been working intensely with our vendor to do a complete audit of our zoning map, so that when people look at their map and see what their zoning is, that if you're supposed to be in R100, you'll be in R100 according to our map, and we're trying to make sure that gets correct and proper, and that's good to hear that this is coming finally to fruition, where have a date certain for when we'll
Right.
be adopting it. Appreciate
Exactly.
it.
I'd like to commend Susan Cannon and her staff, and also Mike Edelson from GIS, who've just done a tremendous amount of heavy lifting, along with Michelle Alexander from Pond and Company.
Thank you. All right, reports and presentations?
Okay, you amended the agenda, nothing.
No reports? All right, public hearing items?
Yes, number one, we amended the agenda to remove the wordage of public hearing, but just to be a presentation. Our finance officer, Bonnie Klein, will be making a presentation in regards to the 2014 millage rate. I might add that we will have public hearings on June the 17th, one at 10:30 that morning, one at 7 p.m. that evening, and then again on June 30th at 10:30 a.m., all here in the council chambers. Ms. Klein?
At this point, I don't have a whole lot more to add. That right now, the number we're working with is 2.85 mils, which is the same as last year, which basically means if you did not get a reassessment notice that's higher than last year, then your taxes will not increase, at least your city taxes. The preliminary numbers are showing a 14% increase in the gross digest, and 3/4 of that is due to reassessed properties.
Are we able to put that display up on the screen that you had earlier during the work session?
We could. I took it down because it said public hearing, and this isn't really going to be an official public hearing.
We'll have it for the next time. All right. All right. Is that all, Bonnie?
Yeah, well, I just, Marie reminded us of the dates. We have 3 more public hearings. On the last one, on June 30 at 10:30, is when the vote will be taken
Okay.
and the millage rate adopted.
All right. Thank you, Bonnie.
Well,
I have one other question about it. Will we be able to post that to the website, the presentation, or is that
Just
being
the-
considered?
The page that you saw earlier, yes,
Right.
we can do that. And also, our communications director has already posted to the website the dates, and adding the June 30th date, so that's already live.
So we'll have one more advertisement in the newspaper also to announce that final date. And that will be on the website as well.
I'll leave that to your discretion, but something to consider.
Yeah, did anybody come for the public hearing on this issue? You did? Well, you can,
Make a comment?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you'd like to come up and make a comment, please.
because I don't want, because it was on the agenda. We don't want to,
Right.
come on down, just state your name and. Hi.
Gina Ginfania here from Brookhaven Fields in District 3. And when I ran the math and discussed things with my community, we saw that the millage rate, I believe, is 2.85
8-5.
that's being adopted, but we have this rollback option, which makes a lot of sense in terms of saving.
What's the rollback option?
2.569, which, when I ran the numbers, would be a savings of $700,000 collectively for all districts. So I think it's a great opportunity for us all to save, and I think we should take advantage of it. given that we've been really surprised by a lot of valuations that I have one person on my street who had a 100% increase. So I encourage you all to please consider the rollback option.
Let me ask you this, if we do a rollback, what do we do next year when the valuations go down or in 2 years? What do we do then?
They're going down?
What if they do? We don't have any control over that. That's
We did 2 years ago.
Yeah, they went down 2 years ago, sometimes 100%, 50%.
So I understand, and I'll review the numbers. I understand there's $1 million surplus and that we had made an additional $700,000 this year?
We, 2013, 2014 budget, we had $1 million, we put in reserves for 2013 and then an
another
additional
million.
million for 2014.
That's our savings account.
And the goal is to
That's-
get about a 20% of our budget.
That's the rainy day
We're not
fund.
there.
We got to keep putting money in reserve so that for ready. So when the next year, when the DeKalb County assessor reduces the valuations, we don't have to raise the millage rate.
Or potential economic downturns.
Yeah, just-
Bubbles.
So we
real
reduced our
estate.
rate last year from our cap from 3.35 to 2.85. And we will know our revenue picture really in full until this fall. So if we reduced our rate again now, and in the fall, if the revenues don't pan out the way we hope they do, then we'd have to raise the rate again.
Okay, well, the good news is we have time to vet this out. So if we have another hearing, if we have a formal hearing
Right.
in another week, and then another one following
more.
that, we can firm up the numbers, and I'll get more refined with what I thought was a surplus and confirm that for you all, and then present what might make sense. But I just realized, wow, a $700,000 tax savings, and we're dealing, by all accounts I see, with a surplus now. So it just, it made sense. It's consistent with the platform that we ran the city on. And I say we do it, and so do a lot of people in the community.
Thank you.
So I look forward to June 17th at 7 p.m.
There's two that day, I believe.
10:30?
10:30 and 7.
30 and 7.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it? Okay. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, may I just make one
Sure.
statement?
There was one other person
excuse me.
that wanted to talk back here, I believe. We
Yes.
had two hands go up?
She said no.
Oh, okay, great. Just wanted to
ahead,
make
Mike.
sure.
And you'll be hearing this more from our finance director when we get into the official public hearings, but I want us to be cautious that while we're showing a 14% increase, the digest has not been set yet by
Right.
the county. They control the digest, so that number could vary. It could go down or it could go up, and so they're not going to forward the digest until July 1, which makes it very difficult for the cities and the
Right.
county, because we have a deadline date that we have to get it to them before July 1, but yet they don't make their final
Right.
determination on the digest.
The
So
same
we
issue
are
we had last year.
Correct.
It's scary to not know what you're going to get,
Right.
be setting your millage rate. And so we took a chance last year and dropped it because we knew we wanted to drop it. And I know we can make this commitment. We're not going to raise our millage rate ever. As long as I'm up here, I don't see any reason to do that. But we got to make sure we're responsible. And a reserve is not a surplus. A reserve is a savings account to make sure that when you have downturns, you have money in the bank to pay for the things that, like police, that you need to pay for. So reserve is not the same as a surplus.
Correct.
Can we petition our commissioners on timing of this?
No, I think
State law?
It's the tax
We
board.
petition the county to roll back the millage rate?
No, it's the
Because
timing
90% of your
on-
taxes
no,
go to the county
The
anyway.
timing on the release of the digest.
Yeah, the digest, right.
That's through the tax assessor's office, and
Well, can we petition that we can turn in what we're going to do after they,
no.
no?
We
They got us
look
in a
at the
pickle.
calendar and.
Oh.
Yeah, remember,
it's-
they're
it's-
doing all
we're-
the cities in the county. They got a lot of coordination to do.
Right.
And they're at the same, limitations that we
Right.
are, waiting for numbers from another source.
Right.
Gotcha.
And you look at cities, I think Dunwoody's is around our rate too. I'm not sure. I think they're 2.79 or 7, something like that. All right, next, any more comments on that? All right, and then next item, can we take a 2-minute break? I've got to use the restroom real quick, and I want to make sure I'm comfortable for this whole thing that's coming up. So if y'all can just bear with us one more second. A 2-minute break. I'll keep it right there. Uh-huh. Okay, we'll come back to order now, if it's okay. Yeah. Okay. Next item on the agenda, Marie?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Our second item is RZ 13-15 Atlanta Resource Center rezoning request from R100 to C1 at 1296, 1302, 1304 Kendrick Road. This is a public hearing, and as you will recall, the applicant will receive 10 minutes to present. If they don't use their entire 10 minutes, they can save it for rebuttal. Opposition will receive 10 minutes. The people in favor will receive 10 minutes. And again, it's cumulative, so if there's time left over, there can be for rebuttal, but if one person uses all the time, it's expired.
Right.
Ms. Cannon is here to present, and then we'll turn it over to the applicant.
So just to restate that, that's 10 minutes for the applicant. That'd be the applicant for this zoning application, RZ 13-15. 10 minutes for folks who are in favor of the application, and 10 minutes for folks who are against the application. So if you have a spokesperson or a couple people you want to use, just remind each side has, each of those three positions has 10 minutes. Just want to make you aware of that. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett. Thank you, Mayor. This is case RZ 1315, as the city manager indicated. The property is located at 1296, 1302, and 1304 Kendrick Road. The site contains 1.17 acres and is currently zoned R100. The requested zoning is C1, which is local commercial. The staff has recommended denial of the C1 request in that the comprehensive plan does not allow for the filing of a C1 zoning request. In lieu thereof, we have recommended that the property be rezoned to NS, which is neighborhood shopping, to allow for a parking area for the proposed future expansion of the business to the east, which is known as Nuts and Berries. As you can see from the location map, the property is abutted to the north and to the east by commercial and by residential to both the west and to the south. And moving to the site plan, if you don't mind switching to that, Susan. While she's doing that, we're going to stipulate to the staff report. This has been to both the Planning Commission and Council for public hearings and back and forth a couple of times. So without any further comment, we would just say that the staff has recommended approval of neighborhood shopping subject to the conditions that are listed in your packet on page 190 and 191. And if you have any questions for the staff, I'll be glad to try to answer those. I would also like to point out that the Planning Commission did recommend denial of this request.
Like I say before we start on this, Susan, I'm enjoying the new software, Susan Hyatt. They were helping. Thank you. But we're enjoying this, what we have up front, the agenda and everything up here. Okay. Let's open the public hearing. Yeah, from the applicant. We need to hear from the applicant first. Daniel.
Ms. Dunleavy.
I'm not sure if this is actually going to help, but I have the existing site plan, and I don't know if maybe this would work better, if you could see it better.
You want to zoom out a little bit, Daniel?
The larger copy, and I know how much the mayor's enjoying the new software.
Yeah. Is that good enough there,
A little
Ms.
bit
Dunleavy?
more.
I can bring it down?
Yep, that's perfect.
That better?
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, I'm going to try and use the new technology. Please bear with me, I'm not very good at this. Linda Dunleavy, on behalf of the applicant, I'm here with Mark Kick, who's seated in the front row. He is the owner of the subject property and also the owner of Nuts and Berries. This is the existing site plan showing Nuts and Berries here at the front with the parking wrapped around the building. These are the two lots that are proposed for rezoning. Essentially what you will see is that Mr. Kick is proposing to rezone the back, here we go. Rezone these residential parcels to allow him to provide parking for Nuts and Berries. The parking would be 22 spaces arranged along an 8-foot landscape median. There would be a 10-foot landscaping strip fronting on Kendrick and a 5-foot sidewalk that do not exist there today. As I told the Planning Commission last week, and I didn't mean to be dramatic and movie-like, but, you know, there's this, one of my favorite movies, Field of Dreams, build it and they will come, but If you build it and you can't park it, they're going to go right by. And this is the situation that Mr. Kick finds himself in right now. These 22 spaces do not meet the requirements under the Brookhaven Overlay District for parking. You have 15 spaces along here that are in the right-of-way of Kendrick, and then you have other spaces in the front up here that if he were to add on to the front would be eliminated. And he would be underparked under any scenario if he increased the existing footprint of the nuts and berries by 1 square foot. In order for him to become competitive or remain competitive in the marketplace, Mark believes from a business standpoint that he does need to expand. And so he proposes, and it's not part of this rezoning, but it's what's driving this rezoning, he is proposing to put a 2-story addition in the front of Nuts and Berries so that there is some sort of, pedestrian accessibility from Peachtree, which is in keeping with the spirit and intent of the overlay. In order to expand that modest 2,000 square feet, he would have to comply with the overlay. He would lose 15 parking spaces. He would be dramatically underparked, and so he needs parking. Mr. Kick has owned these residential lots for in excess of 30 years. They've sort of served as an ad hoc parking lot over these 30 years. And what he's proposing to do is to bring them into compliance with the overlay, with this landscaping, street trees, landscape median, et cetera, in order to allow him to remain viable. The current 5,800 square foot building is just simply not sufficient for him to remain competitive in this market. The property as it looks currently, and I don't know if this is going to work, I may have to flip it around, but these are photographs of the property as it looks now. If you take a, I'm just going to go the old-fashioned way with the board. Okay, what you have here is this is the property now, where you have an asphalt parking lot that's been used for 30 years. This was originally a Waffle House. I think the parking lot was used by the Waffle House even before Mr. Kick owned the property. Behind it, you have Town Brookhaven.
Hold on, let me ask a question. I can ask one question about what she's...
If you can stop the clock, since
Yes.
I'm racing.
Yes. That asphalt parking lot is part of the application, the rezoning application?
Right. This asphalt parking lot is here.
That first lot?
Yeah. And essentially what he's
How is there, if it's residential now, how is that ever a Waffle House?
No, I'm sorry. The Waffle House is where the Nuts and Berries is.
Oh, okay.
And I think that the Waffle House traditionally, even before Mr. Kick owned this property, was using this asphalt parking as overflow parking for the Waffle House. That didn't change over the years when Mr. Kick purchased the property.
So he's got this extra parking right now?
Yeah, and it's been used for years and years and years. However, it doesn't comply in any way, shape, or form with your zoning requirements. This proposal would comply with the zoning requirements. It would be zoned appropriately as neighborhood shopping, and there would be landscaping pursuant to the, requirements of the city of Brookhaven.
Right.
But what you've got is, this is what it looks like now. Behind you is C2 storage. Behind that is Town Brookhaven with 6 stories of apartment buildings. As you look across the street, this shot here is taken from the opposite side of Kendrick, looking across the street at a house that is currently on the property behind it. We believe that the views and the look of this property will significantly increase or be better, be more positive for the community with this plan because of the additional landscaping. What he proposes to do is to demolish the houses that have been used as rental houses on the property, and this lot here would be used as a 50-foot transitional buffer, which would be replanted to, supplement sparse vegetation. There would be a detention pond in the rear of the property. And this lot here, for the most part, in the back, would be undisturbed. It would not be developed. The subject property we submit is a logical place for this parking. The comprehensive plan for this particular piece of property is TND. It's not suburban residential. TND specifically allows retail types of uses and an accessory parking lot such as is being proposed. There are a lot of neighbors here who are in opposition, and we're very much aware of that. However, we have handed in our packet a petition where you have 122 signatures in support of this plan from business owners that stretch from Osborne to Kendrick along Peachtree, because they recognize the significant need for parking and the need to allow a long-established business to continue. I have another petition here with 72 signatures that I will tender to somebody for the record. So there are 200 signatures on the petitions that we have provided showing support for this application. This application will eliminate the need for residential parking on the street when the bistro restaurant is packed. I would like to essentially give up my time at this point to the chef for the bistro because we're running out of time. We are asking that this body approve neighborhood shopping with the conditions that staff has recommended. We believe that it is appropriate given the location and the need for parking in this, on this property.
Thank you. Yes, just. Yes, it's 10 for the applicant. It's 10 for the applicant, 10 for the for, 10 for against.
Gotcha. Okay, all right. Well, good. All right. We understand that Kona opposes this application, and we have attempted to work with Kona in an effort to find a plan that would work for not only Nuts and Berries, but for Kona. Unfortunately, that has not been accomplished. And the reason
Has anything changed since the last meeting?
We met with them, we met with certain representatives, we met with their attorney on site for 2 hours. My understanding, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, my understanding is they would like to see this area here remain residential. We did put forward a residential plan that fronts on Kendrick, but it wouldn't meet any of the zoning requirements, and Kona didn't like it. Most recently, I've been told by their attorney that basically there is no plan that we can present to them that provides parking on the subject property that they would be able to support.
Thank you, continue.
And given that the need is for parking for this business to remain viable, unfortunately, then it sort of becomes non-negotiable because Mr. Kick needs parking. Kona has questioned whether Mr. Kick needs parking, and in fact, Kona even asked for our financial records to determine whether or not the business was viable, to determine whether or not it was growing, to determine whether or not parking was needed. We refused that request simply because I don't think it really has anything to do with the zoning. You know, Mr. Kick has been in business for 30 years. He believes that he needs to expand to remain viable. 22 parking spaces is all that is proposed here. It's a very modest request, and yet without these spaces, Nuts and Berries would not be able to expand, would not be able to remain viable. What I think Kona fails to understand is that without the parking, the business is going to go into a long, slow decline. And we would hope that this board would support the remaining viability of Nuts and Berries and rezone this subject to this very modest site plan. He cannot, if it's zoned to the site plan, come back, you know, put anything else on it without coming back in front of this body and asking for a more intense use. That is not his intent. He wants 22 spaces so that he can remain competitive, and I would like to reserve my remaining time for rebuttal.
Thank you. All right. Anybody in here present to speak in favor of the application?
Yes, sir. Mr. Donald Newstad?
Donald? Just say the name again.
Newstad?
Spell it.
Neustadtt?
Neustadt. Oh, yes.
Hi there. My name's Donald Newstadt, and I live at 2751 Osborne Road. Been there since 1987. I'm a builder and a developer. Have done that in Brookhaven since I started my 2 businesses. Worked for an uncle, but that's enough about me. I've contributed to developments that have been successful in Brookhaven. A long time ago when Jack Honder did Fernwood Park, myself, my company, and then my uncle's company had properties that we were developing at the time on the block. We joined in with, we sold out to Jack so he could complete that project, which I think was perfect for that area. The next project I had was on Canucci and Appalachie Road. I owned several parcels on that block, along with, owned one parcel with Dan Woodley. I sold out them as well, so that could be completed. Chain reaction has happened over there. I think it's a positive one. I'm not here to speak for actually this particular zoning. I want to see the land use plan come together and have.
Hold on, if you're here to speak, you have to be here to speak in.
No, I'm in favor of
the-
commercial, I'm in favor of commercial and residential. I'm in favor of what they have in front of you right now.
But you just said you weren't in favor of the zoning, that this particular
I'm
zone.
sorry, I misspoke. I wanted to say, I wanted to look at zoning as a whole, and please not let any of these property owners that that have properties on Peachtree Road get pigeonholed into an area where they can't develop or prosper. Every land planner knows that land planning is a moving target. It's affected by economics, as we all know, which we've all lived through that. The LCI has worked in some cases and not been very effective in others. But, you know, I ask that you please support this, approve it, and please do not deny it. Give it a chance to float in some way, shape, or form.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy Wilson-Shue.
Hi, my name is Kathy Wilson-Chu. I have been a homeowner in what is now the city of Brookhaven for 21 years. I voted for the city, I voted for the 2 of you. So, and I'm pleased with what you have collectively done. Peachtree Road is Brookhaven's main drag, and therefore we need Peachtree Road to succeed. We need the businesses on Peachtree Road to succeed so it doesn't become a shanty town with boarded up businesses and loss of employment and jobs. So one of those businesses is Nuts and Berries, who's been here for 34 years. It has a store and a restaurant, so kind of 2 main businesses within the business we're talking about. They have been peacefully using the parking in the back of it for 20 years, so this is not a new story. So adequate parking is absolutely essential for the success of a business. I have an example for you that's nearby. So I don't know if any of you remember the original Harris Teeter that was down the street here. So when that Harris Teeter was first here, that place rocked. It was popular, people went to it, and it was extremely successful initially. But then what happened? Well, there is not enough parking in that particular area for the businesses there, including that Harris Teeter, and slowly that Harris Teeter went away before Harris Teeter overall withdrew its presence in Atlanta. So it was, in other words, it didn't go away because of Harris Teeter's withdrawal. So I support this proposal and ask that you do so as well. It's simply the right thing to do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ron Tucker.
Hey, distinguished councilman and honorable mayor, sorry about your back.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a chiropractor. And I'm here to support the owners of Nuts and Berries that I've known for 24 years, and I've been down at this practice for 23 years. And, you know, I send patients down to Nuts and Berries. It's the only health food store we have in Brookhaven. Sure, there's competition at Costco and the various grocery stores, but the personal attention you get at Nuts and Berries is superb. In fact, Mark's wife, Sudie, who's not here, has been on television and quoted as an expert in nutrition several times on major, on local news. So, but I've been referring patients to Mark and Sudie for many years. I love that it's an independent store. The dilemma, as I see it, is we need to address the fact that all existing businesses with Peachtree Road addresses are saddled with close-knit residents behind them. And we've had our parking problems down at Brookhaven Station. It's a good problem to have businesses are flourishing, people are happy, people have places to go, and we have a place to go for healthy eating at the bistro with Chip, and at the when I got out of the hospital recently, unexpectedly, I went straight to Nuts and Berries to get my supplements, and I was able to get back to work strong. They were a big help. So one of the things I like about this proposal is that the two eyesore old structures that are on that parking lot that we're talking about are going to be removed. Wrote a little note to Mark. He said, yeah. So that's a good plan. And, I don't know all the particulars that y'all are dealing with, but I like the fact that he will bring in, he will improve that health food store and bring it more into the Century, and more people can utilize it. It's a treasure. And like I said, they've been here a long time. Mark has a lot of experience. He and his wife met in architectural school, so he knows what he's doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Chip Desormo.
Good evening. I'm Chip Desormo. I own Brookhaven Bistro, which is the cafe at Nuts and Berries. I found it interesting to notice that the different people that came up to comment, the first things they wanted to say was why Nuts and Berries should be supported. And I think that's an important point, because regardless of what the outcome is of this plan, it seems to have gone in a direction of attack against Nuts and Berries, which I think is really the wrong way it should go. One way or the other, it needs to be done so that the neighborhood and Nuts and Berries survive together, right? As far as my business, we account for probably 60 to 70% of the traffic that goes through the parking lot, and we probably get 2 to 3 complaints a week from people complaining that there's no place to park, or they'll park in the adjacent. You can still see my, yeah. They'll park in this area over here and then come up to my counter and say, is it okay that I park back there? They're not really sure. It's not an official place to park. And the other thing is that they end up parking on the street. Is this up on the, there we go. They end up parking on the street right here on this sidewalk, which further blocks the traffic for the residents of Kona to come into their to go into their neighborhood. The other thing I wanted to say is that, and this is based on things that I've heard from other people that have come up to speak. People have said that they're concerned about these improvements being made on the property affecting the traffic on Kendrick Road. The fact of the matter is that most of our businesses, especially mine, we're appealing to work traffic, people that are in our area that are not resident to our area. And so that's happening from approximately 8 a.m., probably closer to noon, all the way up until 4:30 when we actually close, which is long before the average person even is thinking about going home. So my point there is that our traffic is coming from Peachtree Road. They either enter right here at Peachtree and come in here. This is where my restaurant is, or they come in through here at this entrance and go, or they park over here. The only people that would be even slightly affected by any of these improvements would be the ones that live across from this section here. There are 2 residents that live there. Other than that, I don't think any of the Kona residents would be impacted at all, at least not from our business. And I believe that is all I had to say. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Next.
Mr. Mike Elliott.
Good evening. I'm Mike Elliott. Live at 3914 East Brookhaven Drive. I'm a 25-year resident of Brookhaven. I'm on the board of the Historic Brookhaven Neighborhood Association. I'm in charge of that association's zoning committee for the city of Brookhaven and DeKalb County. I'm on the board of the BPCA, which is the organization that established or sponsored the LCI study. I see parking for businesses along Peachtree as being a major issue. And it's not just this one, it's all of them. And parking behind the businesses satisfy the goals of the LCI, and it's appropriate for businesses fronting Peachtree. Nuts and Berries parking lot has existed for over 20 years. It was there a long time before any homes were built, new homes were built on Peachtree. And the zoning is to legalize the parking they've already got and allow it to be improved and landscaped and made look better. Without the parking, I think the business will fail. And it will not allow other businesses to thrive as well. And, you know, being a longtime resident of Brookhaven, I understand the issues of traffic and congestion. The traffic on my street probably makes Kendrick look like a country lane. You know, starting at 3 o'clock, it's constantly backed up till 6 o'clock. And I just know when to go, come and go, and when to leave. You know, I live in the shadow of MARTA and 2 bars that are also issues. So I do think that the parking for nuts and berries exists, it's appropriate, and it ought to be approved. Thank you.
Mr. Elliott.
We have one comment that needs to be read into the record, sir. Mr. Mark Smith stated, "There can be no great community without great businesses. Nuts and Berries is one you should support. They need parking and they need the support of the community."
Thank you.
There are no other comment cards in support of this item.
All right. Those against the application, please. Daniel?
Mr. Rob Stein.
Good evening. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Robert Stein, a partner with Lizega Johansson, here representing the Kendrick Osborne Neighborhood Association. The applicant has decided that he wants to increase the size of his building that is on an adjacent parcel, a parcel that is not even a part of this rezoning. And he wants to increase the size of that building by almost 40%. The applicant currently has the correct amount of required parking on that parcel. He has 23 parking spaces. The applicant does want to expand the building. He wants to add to the footprint so that he can lease more space out in this multi-use building. This building is not just the Nuts and Berries, which is on a portion of the main floor. It is, this is, as many know, was originally a one-story building that housed a Waffle House. Since then, the building has been, a second floor was added to the building, and the building has been expanded significantly over the years to its current 5,800 square feet. And we're talking about a 2,000 square foot addition. And in our meetings on site, we were told that he may be leasing part of that space out, the new space out, to a yoga facility or others, and he's leasing out upstairs to a masseuse and various others. The Nuts and Berries business is on a portion of the first floor, and even when I walked in, that first floor was being walled off to create some other business to be leased out within that space itself. Once the owner does decide to further expand the building, and that's why we're here, he'll lose parking spaces. He'll lose them because the building is going to overlay on top of parking spaces. He's going to lose them because he'll now trip city codes that will limit his use and ability to make use of current parking spaces that he has. Next door to this parcel where the Nuts and Berries and its multi-use building sits is the Kendrick Osborne subdivision. The subdivision is thriving. New homes have replaced 1940s homes, professionals, young families, lots of children, all good things for Brookhaven. New homes for in excess of $500,000 are being put up along Kendrick, adjacent to the Brookhaven Town Center, homes that have 6-story apartments in their backyards. Along Tallulah, it's the same story. One after another, new homes that back up to a Shell station, to warehouses, to hardware supply businesses, and more. And here we go. So this was in your package from last month, if you're able to zoom in on that. You can see the view from the homes that are along Tallulah and homes that are along Kendrick, as well as the view from the subject properties. Owners are buying homes at $600,000, $700,000 and more with these views. This property has a significant reasonable economic use as it's currently zoned. Council members, I don't have to tell you, this is a very desirable area. It's close to Bucket offices, shopping and parks, and there's another factor, it's the city of Brookhaven. The property that is up for rezoning is and has always been a part of the Kendrick Osborne subdivision. It's zoned residential single-family. And if we look at all the city plans and codes, they all have as objectives and policies to protect this neighborhood from the entry of commercial development. Let's take a quick look at them. The Brookhaven Peachtree LCI clearly designates Kendrick Osborne and neighborhoods beyond as neighborhood conservation areas, areas where there are to be homes. The LCI maps include a red line, a barrier to stop commercial development, along the Peachtree corridor, including along the back of Nuts and Berries and all the businesses that are along Peachtree. That is a line where the LCI stops. These residential lots that are part of this rezoning are outside of the LCI. They are also outside of the overlay that has been created. The LCI includes the following prime objective: the preservation of existing stable neighborhoods. The overlay district is intended to be an area for commercial and mixed-use intensive redevelopment. These lots, which are the subject of tonight's rezoning, are not a part of the overlay district. The comprehensive plan has these residential lots designated as traditional neighborhood character area. Here are some of the top policies from the comprehensive plan for TN character areas. Preserve and enhance the integrity and quality of existing neighborhoods. Protect stable neighborhoods from incompatible development. Rezoning these lots to allow them to become a commercial parking lot will be harmful to this neighborhood, to the families and children who live in it, and some folks will come up after me to describe that further.
Mr. Stein, can I stop you for 1 second?
Yes.
You stop him? I have one question.
Yes.
It was shown on the photographs earlier that the subject property is already a parking lot, correct?
Yes.
What is
A portion of it is.
Just tell me what the rationale is. I mean, if you've already got a parking lot, what would be opposing a new parking lot, a better parking lot? Why would that seem illogical?
One reason is we are going to be, it's the tail wagging the dog. This parking lot is lightly used, and I think the neighbors could comment further on that. Once the Nuts and Berries business expands, once that building expands, it eliminates, of the 23 parking spaces that are there, it eliminates them down to 9, reduces it by 14 down to 9. So it will be pushing the cars back here. And we'll have added 2,000 square feet to that building. So it's not just the current businesses and the loss of 14 parking spaces pushed back here. Now we're going to add 40% more to that business and to that building. So we're going to push a dynamic increase in the number of vehicles that are parking back here.
Because one side it could see, from one perspective, it would seem like, it's already a parking lot, and it would seem like the people in opposition might be taking advantage of the fact that he's now got to rezone it, and that they're using the opportunity to make it so it can't ever be used as anything but residential or that parking lot that's already there.
What we have is a business owner who I think has built a significant structure on his Peachtree Road parcel and wants to make it even bigger. The overlay would probably call for that entire structure to be pulled up to Peachtree,
Right.
but his structure will run from Peachtree all the way to the back of the property, not meeting what the overlay is looking for. Be very large on the parcel, eliminate the parking on his own parcel, and push it back into the neighborhood.
Thank you. Continue.
We met with the owner to try to find a solution that worked for all parties, and what we came to realize is there's no need to expand the existing building other than one that's driven by objectives that have nothing to do with land use principles. Kendrick Osborne is a thriving residential neighborhood. The placement of a commercial parking lot and its increased size and increased use is not a transition from the commercial parcels. It's an incursion. And it's crossing the red line the city committed to in the LCI and the Brookhaven Peachtree overlay. This is not merely my opinion, but we went out and consulted with an urban planning expert. We consulted with Larry Lucas, who is a certified urban planner with the American Planning Association. He's certified by the American Planning Association. Mr. Lucas is the city planner for the city of Auburn, Georgia for the past 6 years. He reviewed the full application, Brookhaven zoning ordinance, the comprehensive plan, the LCI, the overlay, and he visited the site, and here was his conclusion. There is no justification for the established and codified commercial character of Peachtree Road to turn the corner by removing these residential properties for commercial use. Currently, there is a predictable separation between the commercial and residential use on Kendrick Road. Allowing commercial zoning will skew this boundary and place a commercial use directly across the street from single-family homes. He goes on to say that this imposes an erosive factor to the existing neighborhood fabric. I'll provide staff with a copy of his analysis.
You have 3 minutes, you know you got people speaking.
Before I close, I just want to point out one critical fact, and I pointed out last week. These lots have a reasonable economic use as they're currently zoned. The applicant stated in his application he was entitled to highest and best use. He's not. That's not the law in Georgia. We consulted with a realtor who said that these lots have a value that would reach up to $1.15 million for the land itself as residential selling land. And we'd ask you to disapprove because this does not meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance. And I'll let the other speakers come up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron Moser.
2 minutes and 39 seconds left. All right.
I'm Erin Mosier. I live at 1282 Kendrick. I'm just 2 houses down from the proposed lots. My son Jack is 9 months old, so I apologize for him and his screaming friends. They're all here past their bedtime, and some of them have had to leave. But they wanted to make sure that their opinion was heard as well tonight. They're the reason that we're all here. There are 28 kids under the age of 7 in our neighborhood. On any given day, we're out pushing strollers or playing with neighborhood children. This is a community that we've built, and it gets better every day. We personally supported the city of Brookhaven, pounding the pavement, passing out flyers during that time of voting, and now we are asking you to support us. We are asking you to protect our families by keeping this a safe, family-oriented neighborhood where you don't allow commercial businesses to continue creeping further and further down Kendrick and other residential neighborhoods. Where will it stop? I mean, currently there are several people who own multiple lots down our street in a row. Just 30 yards from where this is proposed, there is a large corner residential lot. Who is to say that if this is not approved, it does not continue and go that next 30 yards to that corner, and then we have a residence that is now a restaurant and traffic? The facts haven't changed. This is our neighborhood, and we don't support it. We really ask that you vote no. I think in the situation of the traffic, our traffic is already too much. People pull out of that lot and go in a different direction to get to the light, to make a left, because you can't make a left very easily right there out of the restaurant. So there's multiple reasons people are being redirected down that street, and this is just another reason to say no. Thank you.
Dave Bars.
Mayor and Council, I'm Dave Bars. I live at 1299 Kendrick. I'm Vice President of CONA, and I would ask that the other CONA members in opposition please rise and raise your hand. Thank you. I'd like to point out that today at lunchtime, the Nuts and Berries lot was pretty full. Next door, the Thrive Fitness Center parking lot and the flower shop was completely empty. There appears to be no effort on the part of the applicant to work with neighboring business owners to do some sort of shared parking, which seems to be in the spirit of the LCI overlay. I'd just like to say that in the little bit of time that we have already established at CONA that we are solution providers, and we've looked for a solution. In fact, I made an informal proposal to the applicant to bring to him from the neighborhood marketing professionals who might even help him do a targeted marketing campaign to target people within a walking distance, the 700 to 1,000 residents at Town Brookhaven, the students at Oglethorpe. That was rebuffed. We feel that it's not really our place to get involved with the land planning usage that's on Peachtree.
Gotta wrap it up right
now. But we feel like if asked to, we can be visionary, we can be a part of that. What we can't be a part of is an egregious violation of the sanctity of the residential neighborhood. The Planning Commission has voted twice already to deny, and we ask that you send a resounding affirmation of that. Thank you very much.
I think Ms. Dunleavy has some time left over. Does she not?
Yes, she does.
Yeah. But okay, but I think her time was at 2:54 before you. Right? Yeah, okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have a substantial number of opposition members who have asked to be read into the record.
Does that go against the time or anything? No. It doesn't, okay, go ahead and read.
I would
the
do so now. Ms. Jan Toppitz has asked that Nuts and Berries' existing parking lot and building are unkept most of the time as well. Will be proposed lots. Nuts and Berries parking is never full anytime I drive by. Mr. Kirk Toppitz has stated the lots are valuable residential lots that allow high-income homes, families to enjoy the benefits of the great Brookhaven neighborhood. Mr. Eric Mercado has stated, I have emailed my concerns and will re-emphasize the traffic being a major concern already. Mr. Donald and Laura Stewart have stated that they oppose the change in zoning. Mr. Robert Wolf has stated that he opposes it because of the traffic and we already have. No added parking is needed. Mr. Scott Rattery has stated the planning committee has denied the application twice. Please follow their lead and continue the support of the entire neighborhood loop that opposes this application. Mr. Ian Ha has stated his opposition to this application. Mr. John Carr has stated his opposition to this application. Ms. Kathleen Carr has stated her opposition to this application. Jonathan Sweetman has stated that he opposes this application to rezone Kendrick Road as a residential, keep commercial on facing Peachtree Road, stop scope creep. Mr. William Scurry Laws has stated his opposition to this application. Mr. Alex Sadecki has stated his opposition to this application. Ms. Kay Wolf has stated, no, 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 we already have too much traffic. Ms. Walker Bars has stated, for the record, her opposition to this application. Mr. Mosier has stated his opposition to this application. Ms. Diana Sweetman has stated her opposition to the application. Mr. Grant has stated his opposition to the application. Ms. Nisha Desai has stated her opposition to the application. Ms. Rachel Murphy has stated her opposition to the application.
A little more oomph, Daniel. People going to sleep over here.
Mr. Shane Murphy has stated his opposition to the application. Ms. Kelly Grant has stated her opposition to the application. Ms. Colleen Jones has stated her opposition to the application. Ms. Belinda Rattery has stated, please help us keep the neighborhood residential. We have the streets far too busy now and will definitely be impacted negatively. Ms. Terry Savai has stated her opposition to the application. Mr. Marshall Saul has stated his opposition to the application. Ms. Andrea Ha has stated her opposition to the application. Ms. Jennifer Maciak has stated her opposition to the application. Ms. Laura Barrs has stated her opposition to the application. Ms. Sarah Zeman has stated, I email my concerns in opposition to Bates.Madison, Rebecca.Williams, and JMax.Davis. Thank you. Mr. Baxter Thompson has stated, we live a few doors down from the rezoning and have a huge concern about the increased traffic and precedent setting by commercial encroachment into this residential area. Ms. Tracy Thompson has stated, we live a few doors down from the rezoning and we want our kids to be able to play in their backyard without looking at a parking lot where people will be doing gosh knows what. Mr. Ed and Mara Morrison have stated their opposition to this application. And Mr. Joe Hamill has stated their opposition to this application. That is it, sir.
Thank you. Are there any of those in favor?
I do have two more comment cards that did not make the time frame that would like to speak in opposition.
We can't. I don't think. No more time. Ms. Dunleavy has time.
And Mayor, add 32 seconds to Ms. Dunleavy's time, please.
One moment, Ms. Dunleavy.
I'll keep it up here.
I got it.
Yeah.
it's 2:54, I think.
Should be 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, okay.
I got it, go ahead.
There you go.
Okay, we ready? Okay.
Was it 155? I thought it was 255.
I thought it was 2:55, and then Mr. Barr took 30 seconds additional, so I thought that's how
Well,
Mr. Curry.
Daniel, what was it?
It's 1:55 plus the additional 32 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, I thought it was
Then
2:55.
I was mistaken.
Set it to 2:30 then.
Can I ask a question while we're waiting? Because it doesn't count against our time, right?
Go ahead.
When it was a Waffle House and it was and it was paved for parking, was it ever zoned anything for parking?
I can't answer that, Mr. Gebbia. I don't know. You know, this was in DeKalb in the 70s. So I don't know what the ordinance in the 70s allowed or did not allow.
But Leanna, we could call Leanna Levitan.
I'm sure Leanna would tell you something. As to the accuracy, I'm not sure. So, yeah, I really can't answer that, Mr. Gebbia. I just don't know.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. We've heard that this proposal is going to egregiously disturb the sanctity of this neighborhood, and that there is somehow a red line that has been drawn in the sand across which commercial development should not occur. This is the red line to which Mr. Stein refers. This is where the Brookhaven Peachtree Overlay District ends. However, there's another red line that is kind of adroitly skipped over by the opposition, and that red line is here. That red line is where for years and years and years this has been, under the comprehensive plan, traditional neighborhood development. Traditional neighborhood development specifically allows neighborhood shopping. It allows retail. It allows modest office. It allows accessory surface parking, exactly like what is proposed here. And it probably did at the point all of these people moved in on Kendrick. This is a sort of transitional step down from more intense commercial to less intense commercial to residential. On this side of the property on the west, there is a personal care home. What we are proposing is a perfect planning, traditional step down. This is not going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. All of these residents stand up and they tell you that we are thriving. We're thriving in spite of the fact that our homes back up to according to Mr. Stein, a warehouse, a 6-story apartment building, a gas station, and a storage facility. They are thriving in spite of all of that. This 22-space parking lot is not going to change their thriving. And Nuts and Berries is entitled, I submit, to thrive just as much as the neighborhood, especially after serving this neighborhood for 34 years. He's not proposing anything like Town Brookhaven. It's a 5,800 square foot building right now, which is about the size of a lot of homes in Brookhaven. He's proposing to expand it only 2,000 square feet to remain competitive. I think that that is the least that a business owner, after 34 years of investment in this community, could ask for. He's not asking for the moon. He's asking for 22 spaces. He is going to improve how this looks now. He's going to demolish these houses on the site, which are somewhat unsightly, provide landscaping, trees, sidewalks that do not exist now and will not exist if this property is not rezoned. Thank you.
Can I ask another question? Hey, yeah.
Danny?
Am I able to ask questions?
Well, you can ask it now, yes, but once the hearing's closed, no more questions.
Right, well, the hearing's not closed.
That's right. Go
All
ahead.
right. What about this concept of sharing front parking lots?
Well, let me see if I can address that. First of all, Mr. Bars is 100% incorrect. I mean, we have attempted all kinds of solutions to this issue, and we have approached Thrive, which is right here, in regards to parking, and then there's a small flower shop in regards to parking. Those businesses are extremely small. They Thrive is pulled up close to the street, so there was very little opportunity for sharing of parking with Thrive. With respect to the flower shop, we have not been able to work out a shared parking arrangement. They don't have a lot of parking to share, first of all. And the other thing is the business presence. You think about Peachtree. If you're driving down Peachtree and you're thinking, oh, I want to stop at Nuts and Berries to pick up some vitamins, or I want to go to the bistro, you know, are you going to drive to the flower shop, try to find some parking in the flower shop, walk across these two lots, and go to Nuts and Berries? Or are you going to just keep on going and go to town Brookhaven or go somewhere else for that sort of convenient stop? So first of all, yes, shared parking has been considered. None of these businesses have enough parking to share, and in fact, they have asked Nuts and Berries to share parking with them at certain times because of they don't have sufficient parking for their operations. So shared parking, unfortunately, is not a viable option for us. And secondly, I think that we believe that there would be a significant loss of business in if customers had to park at the flower shop and walk down. It's just, we have this presence on Peachtree, we don't have a presence 2 lots down.
When you were in discussion with Kona, was it ever considered, instead of making it a dual, because I think that land is entirely owned all the way back, isn't it?
Instead of making it a dual.
Instead of having 2 cars, making it a single lane, just goes all the way back.
Well, here is the issue. No,
I'm talking about it from an impact standpoint.
yeah, we did not talk with Kona specifically about that. However, somebody has raised that with us before. The problem that we run into is, once again, with the Brookhaven Peachtree Overlay District requirements, we don't comply with the parking as soon as we add any square footage to the building.
Right.
I think he was talking about make it a single lane parking.
The rear
Right,
parking lot.
we would be
Right.
underparked.
I mean, if you took
went
the
that way.
same number of spots, but just ran it as a straight row instead of having.
Oh,
double.
I see.
Instead of having
All
a
the way
double
back.
side, yeah.
Well, we did have a plan
Was it ever-
where the parking went further back. We did not specifically discuss 1 lane of parking and not utilizing over here, largely because customers are going to want to walk up to, from the parking lot to Nuts and Berries. The further the distance,
But it cuts the
less
view in
likely-
half if you did that. It cuts the view of a parking lot in half.
I'm not sure that it does, in all fairness. If you look across Kendrick, the houses across Kendrick, who I think are the ones who are impacted by the view, they're way up high, and then there's a gully. We're kind of in a hole, this property. And so I would venture to guess, Mr. Mayor, that if you're on Kendrick and you're in Mr. Barr's house, you're going to be looking at a long stretch of pavement all the way along towards the back of the lot, simply because you're down in a hole. I haven't looked at it, but that's sort of my gut reaction, is that he's going to see, and in fact, I think I have a photograph that might show that.
I just don't know why there wasn't any consideration to taking all the parking that's near the street and just pushing it all the way to the back. I mean, to me, it would solve an issue in my mind.
I mean, we're
I know,
open to
it-
discussion in regards to that, but no, we did not discuss that specifically. But if you take a look at this view, I'm not sure that it's going to make a huge difference. This house here is is this house right here.
Can't see it, it's not on the.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is this house right here?
Right.
Okay, and so this is a view taken across Kendrick at this house, and they see the storage facilities back here. This would be where you're proposing we have this single lane of parking. So if it's from a view standpoint, I'm not sure that we would be eliminating, we would making their
I mean,
view
if you
any better,
improve,
but.
obviously made improvemers, but this is not before us. It's just what you
Yeah,
have.
no, I
which is-
understand.
Right, we're just speculating.
Yeah,
That's what we
yeah.
do.
It's not something that I think we would foreclose, but I'm not sure it would improve the views.
Right, right. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Well, and just so, if I can finish with that, we've been told they don't want parking, period, on the site at all, which is, why we haven't had that discussion about where would the parking be on this site. We've been told no parking, period, on this site.
Do any of y'all have any questions for the opposition?
I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, just one. And Rob, it was in your description of a TND that you read that was directly contradicting what Linda has told us here.
Yes, I read the policy directly. It's the first policy in the TN category.
Yeah, but Linda's stating here that TND is traditional neighborhood district that is supposed to appeal to whatever the neighborhood, I'm not sure what the exact description is, but I remember what you read is actually restricts what it is that she's proposing it stands for.
In this neighborhood, at TN, and again, turning to Larry Lucas's analysis, was that to put a TN character area that would be in a TN character, to put parking such as this in this neighborhood doesn't fit this neighborhood. You have to look at it in context.
I got it.
Anything else?
Appropriate for me to add.
No, if we had a question, but if we don't have any questions. Do you have any more questions?
No, that's fine. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. All right, I think that's it. We'll close the public hearing on that issue. All right. Now we'll open discussion amongst ourselves.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we deny rezoning 13-15, the Atlanta Resource Center rezoning request from R100 to C1.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I would like to address the applicant in that we clearly stated a message that the plan that is currently before us was not acceptable and should be reworked in consideration to the neighborhood concerns. Since that time, the Planning Commission has reaffirmed their denial. So we've had 2 denials from Planning Commission, and you know, this is certainly an issue where the residents have expressed a desire to maintain their residential area. So I'd hope for more consideration and negotiation between the parties. I know that there was adequate negotiation, but negotiation is really not successful unless each party wins, and obviously that didn't occur in this case.
Or loses. That's a successful negotiation. You've both given up things. You know?
Well, true,
You know?
true.
You know, I just want to add, I like what one of the speakers said about, I don't want this to see neighborhood versus nuts and berries. I think nuts and berries is a great business. I have a frequent patron card. I mean, I shop there all the time. I have for many years. But I would also tell you that one of the reasons the city was formed was to really preserve our residential neighborhoods. It's probably one of our greatest, if not the greatest asset of our city. And while we strongly support businesses and good local strong businesses like this, there's 3 lots there, R100, and I find that zoning to be pretty sacrosanct. If you were coming forward with a change to an R50 or something with an R in front of it, I might look favorably on it. But this is a great neighborhood, and we've got to be very careful about commercial encroachment, even if it is just a landscape parking lot, because I think that's just the first step. In any case, I'm still optimistic that you all will find a solution, because you all, have some good thoughts, some good minds. I personally don't think you've, looked at them all. Maybe you have. Maybe you're. I think both sides are frustrated. But if I don't know if it's appropriate, if you wanted to withdraw, I would. I think you should entertain that thought as well.
I have a question.
May I approach, or is that out of order?
It's out of order right now, but just give us 1 second. If the vote comes down to a denial, I know that's a 2-year window.
Right.
Would there be a motion to allow an application to be resubmitted within 6 months?
Yes.
Would that have to be a motion?
That would have to be part of your motion, correct?
Part of the motion after?
Or you might want to amend your motion if the motion still stands to deny, but to allow the applicant to return within 6 months. And then that would have to be seconded.
I have a question, though. Isn't that an administrative right that the city has to hear, or could it be brought to council to consider a reduction of the 2-year moratorium?
Let me double check. I think it's emphatic, but
Okay, before the vote, though, if
Well,
Tom-
what we're trying to determine is that if, first of all, if they wish to withdraw, they may.
Right.
The other is.
What's the procedure for that?
Well, they say,
But we're in the
done.
middle of a discussion on a motion, we're about to have a vote. How do we stop that process and to allow?
You can allow it, okay, you can allow it, but the other part of it is that if you, what we're trying to determine on the 6-month issue is, can you do that tonight, or does you have to wait 6 months?
Right.
Hmm?
Susan
Because
just,
if it's withdrawn, it doesn't matter, they just have to wait 6 months.
Ms.
right?
Cannon has just told me, and Susan, correct me
If it's
I'm
withdrawn,
wrong.
it can be withdrawn without prejudice if the council allows it.
Oh.
However, if you deny it, there's a 2-year waiting penalty.
I understand.
However,
The applicant can come back.
the applicant can come back and ask you to allow them to file no sooner than 6 months after the date of your decision, which would obviously be tonight.
Is that how you understand it?
Yes, that's how I understand it.
Okay,
Susan and I agree.
okay, all right.
That's
All
a
right, so
novelty.
if the applicant wishes to withdraw the application, I mean, you can come forward and do that.
Well, obviously, we don't want a denial because, you know,
We're
as
not going to argue about it. We just want to know if you want to
Make your
withdraw that.
motion or not.
we would like to withdraw it without prejudice because, you know, with a 2-year bar, we wouldn't be able to work with the neighborhood.
Right, right. Okay, so,
I would, do we need to vote down, or I would amend my motion?
no, wait, hold on. What happens now?
Okay.
Just vote no on the
They
motion.
have asked, they have asked for a withdrawal without prejudice.
Uh-huh.
You have a motion and a second on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Could I
Okay.
withdraw my motion?
It's been
Yeah.
yeah, you can withdraw it.
You can
As
withdraw
long
it.
as long as Rebecca says it's okay.
Right.
I would like to withdraw my petition.
Your motion.
My motion in consideration of the applicant.
Did you,
I'll agree with that.
All right, then you want to make a motion to accept the withdrawal of the application without prejudice.
Right. I'll make a motion to accept the withdrawal of the application without prejudice.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
I would like to state that, you know,
What that
I'm-
means is that this application goes away and can't come back for 6 months, and
No, sir, no, sir.
no,
It-
come back
no, sir.
tomorrow.
It's-
It can
it's
come back,
without
if they pay the
prejudice.
fees and everything else and start all over, go through the planning commission again.
But it would,
Yeah.
but it would mean the same application would face the same fate 6 months from, or however long from now.
There may be an encouragement by this council to take note of the discussion and the direction in which the council was moving, and
Right.
therefore the applicant
And
should
that's what I
heed
would,
that.
that's what I would like to say, is that
Exactly.
it's pretty obvious what was going to happen, and that should be taken into consideration. If you're going to submit another application, before the application is submitted, I would say you go meet with the neighbors again before an application is submitted.
I also want to say that, you know, some of the issues that were brought up about nuts and berries and parking, I'm extremely sympathetic to. I certainly do not want any of the people who do business at Nuts and Berries or the ownership to feel that in any way this is a move against your business, because it's not. We certainly would love to see the continued success of business operations there and expansion. But that's why we have commercial zoning areas, and there are opportunities to expand commercially in the commercial areas adjacent to the property. You know, we have issues all up and down Peachtree Road because of the overlay that are similar to this, where parking is limited. And what we are finding with the overlay is that assemblage is really the only way to make smart overlay developments. And, you know, if the intent of the overlay is to really create a pedestrian-friendly area that promotes walkability, reduction of curb cuts is important. And the only way you can reduce curb cuts is by assembling those parcels so that they can have shared parking, and you can cut off some of those curb cuts, which make it very dangerous for pedestrians, bicyclists, and runners. I think everyone who exercises up and down Peachtree is aware of that fact. So I'm hopeful that this is a start of a new discussion. I think that you would find, I have seen in my discussions with Conant that they're a reasonable group. They certainly were reasonable in their negotiations with the Soccer Fest and with the applicant at the former Shell station. Hopefully, y'all will be able to come back to the table and work together to find a reasonable solution.
Yeah, I mean, seems to me, it's like a civil group of folks presented on both sides tonight. So they're really, to me, it should be incumbent on everybody to understand that if y'all can come here and be civil and intelligent and reasonable, you can do that out of City Hall too. I just hate that, that people are sideways over this issue on both ends. And I don't want the Kona people to think because there was no vote for denial that the right of the applicant to withdraw the application they can do that. So it happens sometimes. But and I don't foresee this council looking kindly on another application that's exactly the same. So you'll have to go through this whole thing again, which is I know what's probably on your minds. And so I think that this should be a good opportunity for thoughtful reconsideration and a different direction on, as far as whatever next is proposed. So I appreciate your coming, appreciate the civility that all of you displayed, and that's what civic engagement's about, and we appreciate it. All right?
You want to take a recess and let everybody?
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess, so if you want to stay or go.
Oh, we have a motion. It was seconded, wasn't
It
it?
was seconded. Oh, yeah, gosh.
Hold on.
Still in the discussion phase. Is it? Yeah.
I was going on break.
No more, no more discussion. Is there, all in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion carries. Got caught up
Oh,
in 5-minute recess. Yeah. Okay, back in session. Number 3, Mosaic Homes, RZ 1407. Susan?
Thank you, Mayor. RZ 1407 is a request of Mosaic Homes for property located at 3600 Donaldson Drive, and the site contains 4.296 acres. It's currently zoned R75. The request is for RA8 zoning. The site is currently occupied by a church, and the request is for a 34-unit, single-family attached development. If you take a look at the overhead, you will see the surrounding zonings of the property. To the north, the property is zoned RA5. To the west, property is zoned R75. Across Donaldson Drive to the east and southeast, area zoned T and D. And adjacent to the south, property zoned RM75. The future development map identifies the area as best suited for suburban character, which allows for up to 8 units per acre. This particular request, as filed for the 34 units, allows for 7.9 dwelling units per acre. When this case was presented to the Planning Commission and reviewed by the staff, Susan, if you can put the site plan on the overhead. There was a request by the staff for the removal of 2 units.
Sorry.
And while she's doing that, we did hold the Planning Commission hearing. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the request, subject to the staff conditions, which are located in your packet. And if you can take a look at the site plan, you'll see the area kind of in the center where there are 2 units. We asked for those 2 units to be removed. As of today, actually the staff received a revision as a reaction to our request yesterday, and you all did receive that plan today. We would recommend approval of that plan. As indicated, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the prior request. In regard to that approval, that would come with the staff recommended conditions, and they would be revised in relation to that particular plan. And before you have a list of conditions, condition number 1 would be eliminated. Condition number 2 would be revised to restrict the property to 33 units, subject to the plan submitted by Planners and Engineers Collaborative on June 10th. And condition number 3 requires the design of the units that, with the front facade facing on Donaldson Drive, those units would be numbered 29 through 33 versus 34, based on the site plan you have received today. And we stipulate to the staff report and note that the Planning Commission recommended approval, and we have no further comments.
I have a quick question. In our packet online, you mentioned there was some kind of revision. Is our online packet have all the most current information?
No, you received, I think Daniel gave you a hard copy. We received it today.
Is that in our
This-
book? or-
Site
This-
plan. It's right here.
I have this one. I don't
No,
think.
it's in the folder.
Okay. Wait a minute. No, that one's changed.
Mr. Madison, I
Is
can
it- it's in
project
the
the
folder.
new one for you.
If you have a new one,
I
that'd be
have the new one.
great.
I can project it for you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do you all not have the new one?
I've got the,
It's in your folder.
I've got the packet, but it doesn't have the site.
Right, I
plan.
think he independently handed you a separate
Do you
plan.
have the folder? It's in your folder.
Was it this one here? Dick?
Oh, it's folded in the folder. Okay.
Said it was in the envelope.
That's in the folder.
All right, Susan.
So no more comments from the staff unless you have questions.
No
Thank you.
comment. All right. You Open the public hearing.
Mr. Rusnick, on behalf of the applicant.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is David Rusnack. I am with the firm of Weiss Manoa, Curry and Wilco. I am here in the stead of Mr. Dillard, who unfortunately cannot be three places at once this evening.
That's a first.
And while I have said to several members of the council, I am not a Brookhaven resident during baseball season over at Murphy Candler, I may well qualify. As you, can we project this, please? So
We don't have an easel.
the overhead camera will do. This is a 4.269 acre tract. It's on the northwest side of Donaldson Drive. And as the, here we go. And there we go. That's good. We are again asking for rezoning from R75 to RA8, which should be consistent in every
Going.
respect with the comprehensive plan.
Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, right there.
Give you a little extra time for
That's all right.
technical.
I may not need all of it.
Yeah, all right.
This particular parcel is adjacent to RA5, RM75 to the south, development actually that Mosaic Homes did a number of years ago called Ivy Place. And there's T&D across Donaldson Avenue. And of course, this abuts on to the west with Blackburn Park, which is zoned R75. As was previously noted, this is currently a Korean Baptist church, and unfortunately, the membership of that church has moved in other directions, and as a result, the church is now looking itself to move, and Mosaic Homes has been in discussions with the church for a number of years. This is going to be a 33 townhome unit. It will be actually a very nice addition to Brookhaven. These should be at a price point around $400,000 with square footage of between 2,750 and 3,100. These will even be accessible to seniors because there will be an elevator option. So, for those who wish to move in but don't have, perhaps have mobility issues, these townhomes will be a very attractive option, close to shopping, close to a lot of facilities. As you can see from the plan, and I'll move this back a little bit, at present, the entire back area here is a green space. The blue line here is a creek that's now running through the property. And this entire area is going to be preserved. It will not be changed. It will remain all buffers of the state and city intact. There has been some discussion, but it's very preliminary, about possibly putting a footbridge across, if only to allow access to the park, which is a major draw for the people who will live in this particular area. We think this is quite in keeping, as the planning department has said, in keeping with the comprehensive plan. And actually, the density here will be slightly lower now that we've moved to 33 units to accommodate the concerns of the planning department and the neighborhood. It should be just under 7.7. And this, in the RA8, is a particularly good transitional neighborhood because of the RM75 to the south having slightly more than 14 units per acre, and the RA5 to the north having 5.5, and then, of course, across the street being T&D. As can be seen, this is the amended application site plan. What had happened previously was the original entrance was to be here. the planning staff asked that it be moved in keeping with a request from the neighborhood to align it with the T&D development across the street. In doing so, we gave up a unit here to allow for all necessary police and fire access radiuses. And we swapped these 3 units here and added the 2 center units, which were to be eliminated under the original plan, to make a more cohesive development. And that also allowed for an internal green space here for a dog park, fire pits, and other amenities that will help draw people to this particular development. We think that as it is currently aligned, it would be a very attractive and a very good addition to what the comprehensive plan envisions for Brookhaven, smart infill growth. The Atlanta market, and especially Brookhaven, is not going to stop growing, but it needs to grow smartly. It needs to grow with an idea towards bringing in the sort of neighbors and members of the community who will participate, who will have an interest, perhaps professionals, perhaps people of income who can support the local shopping, who can pay the property taxes and the sales taxes, which are necessary to support Brookhaven as a newly formed city and hopefully a very long-lived institution. As it stands now, this, as approved, is, and all the conditions are completely acceptable to Mosaic Homes. This would be their 5th development as a longtime Brookhaven developer. We feel that this is something that should be approved, and I would like, having said that, to reserve my remaining time in the event there are any comments that need to be addressed.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application?
Yes, sir, Mr. Clayton Connery.
Don't give him any more
Conroe.
time than he needs. He'll take every bit of it.
Have the full
That's not true. I'll barely scratch the surface. Clayton Conroe. I live on Park Creek Lane, which is at the end of the proposed development. I'm in favor of the development in general. I appreciate the adjustments that the builder has made based on the city's recommendations. I would like to offer a slightly different opinion on one of the conditions that they met. The now 5 units that would face Donaldson Drive, the city had requested that they be flipped so that the decks faced inside the development, which sounds nice and probably would look nice from Donaldson Drive, but what it would do is remove those residents from being able to interact with people that are going to be using the sidewalk, and there's quite a bit of pedestrian and dog walking and running traffic up and down Donaldson Drive. And some of the other current developed residences have rear-facing porches and decks, and there is a good bit of interaction between pedestrians and people living there. So I would like to see those buildings that face Donaldson Drive be turned back around again so that the decks will face Donaldson like the other residences on Donaldson.
Which one is Donaldson Point?
The street at the bottom.
It's the bottom.
Yeah. Have you spoken to any other people in your neighborhood about that issue?
Yes.
What is the consensus from?
Well, 100% of the people I've spoken to, which is one, agree with me there. Some of the other residents, previous to tonight's conversation, when I mentioned that to them, they didn't really understand what the point of that was. So I don't want to get into a discussion about why it was done. I just want to say that there's some sentiment that it would be nice to have our new neighbors so that we don't have to enter into their community to wave to them or whatever.
So when you said there are other, you wanted to flip it so it'd be consistent with other properties on Donaldson, you're talking about across the street? down the road?
Across the street and adjacent to this, the previous property that Mosaic finished. The decks of the buildings that face Donaldson Drive, those decks also overlook Donaldson Drive.
But was this fact known when the decision was made as a condition to flip it?
I don't think staff either, what was the reason for flipping it?
We were looking at the architecture and how the facades were treated along Donaldson and creating a
Visual.
front facade look, and then having the back entry into those properties that would have a facade on Donaldson Road. So that was the purpose for that.
But if the houses across the street are like that, wouldn't flipping it the way Clayton is recommending be consistent with the look in the area?
There's two questions going on.
Yeah.
There would not be any curb cuts off of Donaldson. It would be the facade treatment along Donaldson, like what is occurring across, it was in looking at what is occurring across Donaldson that led the staff to ask for the front facade treatment along Donaldson.
But I think they're, on the other side of Donaldson, a lot of the houses have the decks overlooking the street.
Well, they're not decks, they're porches.
Porches.
Because they're single-family detached, and they have a garage that enters from inside the development, but the houses that face Donaldson have a rear porch.
Oh.
Right.
Is
Now,
this
but those are the townhomes that currently exist adjacent to this, and they have what I call rear-facing decks that overlook
Oh, yeah,
Donaldson
they
Drive.
do, yeah. The ones up the street do, yeah.
Can I see that?
So this is not a picture, is this a picture of the proposed development? That's just an adjacent property.
Another development we did in Smyrna, which is typical.
Oh, okay.
What the look would be.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you, Clayton.
Thank you.
If I may, at the end of the day, Mayor and Council, it's a land use question. The use is appropriate there. If you don't feel strongly about that, then it's certainly your prerogative. It was just a recommendation from the staff.
Okay. Anybody else speak in favor? All right, so anybody against? Okay. If you want to come back up, I guess you have more time.
Mayor, I don't believe that there's anything that I can add in terms of value.
Well, so I'd like to ask, to his point, is that a problem to flip them the other way, or is that?
Your Honor, we originally had it where the decks were facing Donaldson. We were asked by the planning department to turn it around. We turned it around. If in the wisdom of the council, we wish to flip it back, we'd be happy to accommodate the council.
Why did you have them, why did you all have them in the beginning? I mean, your builder might understand that question. Why did you all have them in the beginning facing the street?
I think it was all consistency, that all the entrances would be from, I'm sorry, maybe.
I mean, this is going to really surprise some people, but I'm a developer, and it costs us about $13,000 per unit to flip them around and have the front door facing the road and the decks internal. But I'll be honest with you, I think because of the elevation, it's going to look better. I live next door. I live in the one I built. And I do think it would look better.
Have the decks facing the street?
No, sir.
The front door facing the street.
Oh, the front door.
I happen to be in favor of having the front
And a
doors facing the
sidewalk.
street.
Right.
You know, a serpentine sidewalk with trees and looking at, I'd rather look at front doors
Is
than.
there a front porch?
There's stairs.
The stairs.
Yeah, there's stairs, but I mean, I don't want to look at a deck that
Yeah.
over time gets moldy and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
I just
in
think
my
they-
opinion, it's an
I mean,
architectural
it costs us
style
more to
thing.
do it that way, but I live next door, I'm not going anywhere, and I just,
I think this,
This would be typical of
Yeah.
what it would look
Yeah.
like on Donaldson Avenue.
versus a deck.
Drive.
Drive.
I mean,
yeah, I think it's a more sophisticated, kind of
Very-
urban
very much so.
Georgetown look. I've always wondered about.
partner's going to kill me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're spending his money, right?
Well, he lives there, that's why he's.
Well,
But I've always wondered about the decks. I'm interested that Clayton said that people interact, but when I go out on my deck, I kind of want peace and quiet. And so, you know,
Yeah.
I'd be a little reluctant to go out there if I thought
So
people.
you're saying Clayton's from the party element? He wants to party?
He's just a chatty guy, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I think it can go either way.
You got some more time, yeah.
I've certainly got no opposition to that. I'm just saying that, go for it either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just, we're going to give this a lot of care, because we're from here, I live there, and we'll serpentine the sidewalk, and we'll make sure this thing looks as good as it can.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
One question that Councilwoman Williams asked about the elevations. We believe that we're going to be able to cut the elevation to lower the units by somewhere between 7 and 12 feet. We don't have the geo done on it
Okay.
at the moment, so we're not sure. And there was one concern about the possibility of blasting raised by a gentleman from who lives next door, and we're very sensitive to that concern. And we will work to make sure that we are in the process of grading and development, that we minimize those sort of factors.
I had asked earlier, the topo on this lot, the elevation goes up pretty steep, and I was just wondering if they were going to level it to make it more consistent with the property next door, so that was an answer to that.
That pad was built many years ago, and
Right.
we really don't know what's under
Under
there
there,
until we
right.
get to it. And if there are any other questions, if not, I'm through with my presentation, and thank you for your time. We asked for the approval of this zoning application.
All right, is there a motion?
I will move that we approve ordinance RZ 14-07, Mosaic Homes LLC rezoning request from R75 to RA8 to construct a 33-unit, single-family attached development for the property located at 3600 Donaldson. And I would like to amend the staff conditions as well, since they've changed, to delete number 1, and on number 2, to change the number of units from 32 to 33, and the site plan prepared by Planners or Engineers Collaborative, received June 10th. And then on condition number 3, owner-developer shall design units 23 through 33, not 34.
29 through 33.
Sorry, 29 through 33. This is the one saying that with the front facade of the units fronting Donaldson Drive with the garage located in the rear, access off the internal driveway. And that's it.
I second that. Is that, you're in discussion?
Well, you second it. We're
Yeah.
we're in discussion now.
I just want to make sure those conditions were right and agreeable to.
They are.
I would just ask, do you want us to give you any more leeway on that condition that requires you to front them on Donaldson, since we seem to be of mixed opinion as to?
If you can,
Do you have an opinion about that, Susan? Obviously, the staff conditioned that they wanted the front facade fronting Donaldson. In light of our discussion here, I'd almost leave it to the builder.
Well, and the applicant agreed, the builder agreed, the attorney agreed.
Well, we don't want to tie up your docket for coming back in for a variance, so, I mean, if it could be, we want to do it that way.
Well, then maybe we should just leave it. Okay, let's leave it alone.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Vote.
All right. Is there more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed?
I want to thank you all for really taking to heart the staff recommendations and doing exactly what they ask you to do. Moving the entrance, getting rid of the island, the 2 units surrounded by the roads. I think that's going to be an even better pocket park, some open space for the residents, and I hope you agree it's actually a better design.
We do. We'd like to also thank the planning department for moving on it so quickly as we filed our amended application today.
Thank you.
You gentlemen have a very good reputation. Obviously, you're doing good work for Brookhaven, and we appreciate it.
We have no life, that's why.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4 has been removed.
Right.
And we have no old business, and we'll be moving on to new business. Number 1, ordinance 2014-06-03, consideration and approval of amendment to Chapter 4, alcoholic beverages, corking in restaurants. We reviewed this during your work session.
All right.
Are we having conversation here?
Well, if,
Have a motion?
you know, we spent quite a bit of time
Right.
describing this during the work session, but what this is an ordinance which, at the discretion of a restaurateur, in other words, has to have a full-service kitchen and also a license for on-premises consumption of alcohol to allow patrons to bring in their own wine.
I'm going to make a motion then.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance number 2014-06-03, consideration of approval of amendments to Chapter 4 alcoholic beverages, corking in restaurants.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Tom, I just had one little problem with that whole paragraph about a parent giving a child under the age 21. I don't think it says clearly that it is for that restaurant only. Because if you look at the subheading that it's under, it's supposed to clarify that they have permission. Just go through that once. If you look at the subsection that it's listed under.
You know, we don't even have this on the new business, do we?
Okay, well, all I'll ask is.
Yeah, it's on here. It's on our agenda.
Yeah, here it is.
It's,
Yeah, the corking in restaurants, we also had another ordinance for the serving of alcohol to minors.
But it was
That
part
was
of
on
it.
the work session.
It wasn't that, that was part of
It's
this
not
here.
on the agenda.
No.
no, it was the second thing, I think, on the work session.
Huh?
It was the second item on
it
the.
was-
Discussion on
It-
work
Right.
session, it hasn't made it to this one yet.
Then I
Okay.
stand corrected. I stand corrected, thank you. My motion stands.
We just won't have any minors
I was just-
opening wine bottles. How
Right.
about that?
I'm sensitive to that.
Yeah.
And we have a second, right?
Yeah, any discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right. Number 2,
Yes, Resolution 2014-06-02, resolution call for the election and set qualifying dates.
okay. The qualifying dates were August 19th, 2021 for District 2, and November 7th is the election date, correct, Susan?
on the other.
Number 4th, number 4th.
And we'll be placing all this, excuse me, we'll be placing all the ads and everything on the website and in the papers, and we'll get the message out.
All right, is there a motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 2014-06-02, the resolution calling for the election and setting qualifying dates.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in, any discussion? All in favor of adopting the resolution, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, resolution carries.
If I'm correct, the qualifications are in our charter for, so maybe we just want to remind people or point it to people or reproduce that paragraph. I think it
Yes,
mainly
we'll
has to
have
do
part
with
of that.
residents.
Yes,
We'll put some,
yeah,
we'll have the links and all the information.
all right,
Okay, the third item is an added item.
amended, yeah.
Resolution 2014-06-03, resolution calling for a moratorium for the sign ordinance for the city of Brookhaven.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number 2014-06-03. Is that correct?
Yes.
A resolution approving moratorium on accepting applications for sign permits and the issuance of such sign permits and declaring an emergency.
All right,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor of the motion as stated, signify so by saying aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion carries. Yeah, we can, in the public we can do it in the mayor's comments. Other business?
We have no other
Excuse
business.
excuse me,
It was
did you,
added.
I mean, as far as the moratorium, did we recite the date to which?
No.
No,
we
it should be
mentioned
to
the-
Unless it was in the, was it in the
It should, yeah,
resolution?
it's at the end of the resolution.
Yeah.
June 17th.
It actually has a Scrivener's error, June 17th, but
It's
just a
in the-
typo.
it's in the
June-
resolution.
Well,
it's
I
in the
wanted to see
resolution.
if you had read it or not, and I
That's right.
confirmed that you had not.
May I, under new business, point 3 was added as we did a change in our agenda at the beginning
Yeah.
of this session.
Yeah. Yeah, all right,
I might add, just so the audience understands, June 17th is a public hearing for our millage, and we'll be calling for a special called council meeting.
right, okay,
And that will be the item on the agenda only.
okay.
So would you amend your motion to
Already
provide
passed.
for the moratorium through
Just
June
do another
June
motion.
17?
Do another motion saying, in reference to the previous motion, we would like to add this, all right?
I'd like to make a motion in reference to the previous motion that we just passed, to provide for this moratorium to expire on midnight, June 17th, 2014. Do I need to cite the resolution number again? Resolution 2014-06-03.
All right.
I'll second again.
Any discussion? Just I was going to use it in the mayor's comments, but the reason for this moratorium is there's some possible confusion over our sign ordinance, and there's issues with some billboard companies possibly trying to take advantage of some things or not. We don't know. So that's the reason for it, and we're going to try to update it at each council meeting.
Well, I would just also add that the actual language in the resolution says that we are just asking for time to study the issue and potentially enact a new Chapter 21 sign ordinance. But we want to be able to audit the sign ordinance in conjunction with the audit we're doing of the city zoning map.
Right.
As well.
All right. Thank you. All in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right. Other business?
No other business.
Public comment? Anybody have any comment?
I just want to thank our IT people that
No,
we...
public comment,
Oh,
not
I'm
give me a
sorry.
comment. Yes, come on down, Eugenie.
Hello, my name's Eugenie Wiener, and I have something. While you're looking at the sign ordinance and considering it, if you could also consider it in other applications other than the one that you talked about in billboards, about for my farmers market, I had intense discussions with a fellow, I cannot remember his name, while applying for the application. There was a lot of confusion about what signs are permissible in a farmers market and what are not. How can they be applied and which way the banners can be facing. It's very confusing in the context of a special permit for an event or a farmer's market. And so I ask that you consider that while you're updating the sign ordinance.
All right.
Thank you.
But the banners section is confusing.
Banners and the small placard signs.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any more public comment? Okay. Mayor's comments? Have none this time, amazingly. And executive session, we don't need an executive session. Is there a motion?
Can I have Gebbia time for a second?
Oh, Gebbia, you want to make some?
Just one thing I wanted to say. We posted on our webpage an event that's taking place in DeKalb County. It's a special event. They're having an emergency situation with the Dog Days of Summer Adoption Special. We're trying to really help them find ways to adopt dogs, and there's an overpopulation, and they're in an emergency situation, and they don't want to have to go to the alternative. So IT was kind enough to put a link to that on the front page of our webpage. I encourage you to go there. Pass the word. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, any discussion? All in favor of adjournment signify so by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right.